Chapter 3198. Under myriad thunder, true Lord's instigation, the savage flood dragon cultivators thought that they could easily swallow the pure land of Buddhism. They did not expect the pure land of Buddhism to have such a close relationship with Su Fang. Now that a Daozu expert had appeared, how could the savage flood dragon cultivators not be surprised and terrified? Which race are you from? I am from the savage flood dragon race, and have not offended you. Please let me go. The peak Dao Saint expert from the savage flood dragon race trembled under holy sovereign Xie Yan's will. Evil holy sovereign Zhu's snort came from the void. I'm not blind. How can I not recognize you, ugly savage flood dragon race? Do you think you can scare me by mentioning the savage flood dragon race? What a joke. Evil. The expert from the savage flood dragon race asked unwillingly, Why must you do this, Lord? I did not want to make things difficult for you. But you are blind. You want to destroy the pure land of Buddhism. Evil. Holy sovereign Zhu's figure flashed out of the void. He looked at the many experts from the savage flood dragon race, and a thought flashed through his forehead. Whoosh. Holy sovereign Xie Zhu's thought turned into an evil flame that engulfed the savage flood dragon race cultivators and burned them up. In less than 10 breaths, more than 1,000 savage flood dragon race cultivators, including that Dao Saint expert from the savage flood dragon race, were burned to ashes. Myriad Thunder True Lord was not lucky either. He disappeared in holy sovereign Xie Zhu's evil flame. It is you, Lord. Thank you for saving us. The expert from the pure land of Buddhism, He Qian, recognized holy sovereign Xie Zhu. He was shocked and surprised. He knelt down and bowed to holy sovereign Xie Zhu. Why are you thanking me? Su Fang asked me to do this. If you want to thank him in person. Holy sovereign Xie Zhu said indifferently. Then he flew through the air and passed through the barrier of the pure land of Buddhism. He appeared on Wondrous Mountain. Then holy sovereign Xie Zhu used his divine power to sweep away all the Buddhist cultivators on Wondrous Mountain. He said majestically, No one is allowed to come close. Otherwise, you will be killed. Many cultivators from the pure land of Buddhism hurried back. Holy sovereign Xie Zhu had already sealed Wondrous Mountain, making it difficult for anyone to take a single step into it. The higher-ups in the pure land of Buddhism didn't know what Holy Master Xie Zhu's intention was. Plus, Holy Master Xie Zhu was an evil Daozu, and his mood was unpredictable. Therefore, the higher-ups in the pure land of Buddhism were all on edge. Empty Grand Elder Fa Ming of the Xiang Temple suddenly remembered that Su Fang was still in the forbidden area of Miaoshan Mountain. He immediately cried out in alarm. Jing Kong is still in Miaoshan Mountain. If he was discovered by that strange race master, how could he survive? How could the higher-ups still be in the mood to care about empty space? Big after about 100 years, the many Buddhist cultivators in the pure land of Buddhism had also spent 100 years in fear. In the forbidden area of Wonderful Mountain, Su Fang was still sitting cross-legged in front of the stupa tablet. The Buddhist light that was emitted from his body had disappeared, and the Buddha's shadow in the Buddhist light had also disappeared. Here at that time, Su Fang's appearance had completely changed into his original appearance. The little monk Jing Kong's shadow could no longer be seen. The change in the realm of his Tao heart had caused his appearance to completely change as well. His aura had become very calm, just like an ordinary person. From the stupa tablet continuously released a terrifying spiritual pressure. Even a Daozu master found it difficult to withstand. This spiritual will surged into Su Fang's body like raging waves, constantly attacking his will. However, Su Fang was like a boundless ocean. The torrential spiritual will attacks surged into the ocean, causing waves after waves. They quickly calmed down and merged into the ocean, unable to affect Su Fang in the slightest. After coming to the pure land of Buddhism and continuously cultivating, comprehending the stupa tablet, and comprehending the Buddhist scriptures contained in the 108,000 Buddha statues, Su Fang's Tao heart had finally broken through from the height of being one with the heavens to a whole new level. This was also the highest realm of Buddhist cultivation of spiritual will. It was empty, without impurities, and boundless. The heart was like heaven and earth, encompassing everything. At this time, Su Fang's willpower didn't change much. However, the improvement of his state of mind allowed his will to encompass all spiritual will attacks. This is the higher realm that Master talked about. My heart can encompass everything. Whether it's temptations from the outside world or threats to my life, it's difficult to shake my Tao heart. In the test of the Thunder Lake Original Realm's second heaven, I only knew how to resist the waves of will attacks blindly. Unless I cultivate an immortal Tao heart, otherwise, no matter how strong and sturdy my Tao heart is, it will be destroyed in the end. My Tao heart has cultivated to the level of being one with the heavens and the evolution of yin and yang. When faced with spiritual will attacks, I can only passively resolve them. However, my current realm actively encompasses everything from the outside world. Therefore, there's no spiritual will attack that can shake my Tao heart. With my current realm, although I haven't reached perfection, it's still very shocking. If I go to the Thunder Lake Original Realm's second heaven, I have at least a 90% chance of passing the test. Su Fang smiled and stood up from the ground. Now that his Tao heart had reached a higher realm, it was meaningless to continue staying in the pure land of Buddhism. Su Fang was startled when he projected his sensing power. Why is Holy Sovereign Xieju here? Su Fang, kid, you're finally done. Holy Sovereign Xieju's divine might descended with a rumble and swept Su Fang out of the forbidden area. Su Fang wasn't surprised to learn from Holy Sovereign Xieju that Myriad Thunder True Monarch had led cultivators from the savage Flood Dragon tribe to attack the pure land of Buddhism. The fact that True Monarch Myriad Thunder ended up like this is also his fate. Holy Sovereign Xieju tell the upper echelons of the pure land of Buddhism that they can move to the eastern profound divine domain now. You stay behind to guard them, in case the experts of the Savage Dragon tribe come to seek revenge. Su Fang said to Myriad Thunder, True Monarch. After some thought, he urged, tell them not to leave a single mortal behind. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll be a good person to the end and take the entire pure land of Buddhism with me. It'll just take some effort. I've killed countless lives and many human experts in my life, but I've never saved anyone. Interesting, Kikik. Myriad Thunder, True Monarch, let out an evil laugh and sucked Su Fang into his Tao palace. Then, he sent a message to the pure land of Buddhism's upper echelons. You want to bring the entire pure land of Buddhism to the eastern profound divine domain? Holy Sovereign Xieju's decision surprised and shocked the pure land of Buddhism's upper echelons. Then, they were overjoyed. With given Holy Sovereign Xieju's strength, moving the entire pure land of Buddhism to the eastern profound divine domain would only take some effort. For example, they didn't know how much time and effort it would take to move the pure land of Buddhism. They also didn't know what kind of dangers they would encounter along the way. That was why they had to abandon most of their Buddhist cultivators and mortals. Now, how could they not be surprised that Holy Sovereign Xieju had taken the initiative to help them? Thank you, my lord. With the old Tao saint leading the way, the rest of the upper echelons knelt and bowed to Holy Sovereign Xieju. Holy Sovereign Xieju had been hated and feared by many in his life, but no one had ever shown him such gratitude before. He was very pleased and laughed continuously. Receive Holy Sovereign Xieju flew out of the pure land of Buddhism and used a peerless ability to forcibly pull the pure land of Buddhism and the barrier around it out of the chaos and into the Tao Palace. Then Holy Sovereign Xieju shot through the air and returned to the eastern profound divine domain. About 500 years. Holy Sovereign Xieju stepped out of the chaos outside the eastern profound divine domain. Just as he was about to enter the eastern profound divine domain, the divine light around him changed slightly and he stopped. Owl descended and condensed into the illusory figure of Dongxian Daozu. Dongxian Daozu communicated with Su Fang inside Holy Sovereign Xieju's Tao Palace. Joy appeared on his face. I didn't expect the Buddhist sect, which has long declined, to be able to help Su Fang improve so much. The Buddhist sect has helped Su Fang which means that they have contributed greatly to the entire human race. How can I not give the Buddhist sect a place to live? Rumble. Dong Xiandaozu used a peerless ability to create an independent space-time in the space between the three highest profound sects and the Luo Shao sword sect inside the Eastern profound divine domain. Siezhu Holy, sovereign Siezhu, entered the independent space-time and moved the pure land of Buddhism out. Holy sovereign Siezhu then entered the pure land of Buddhism and said to the higher-ups, "We've arrived at the Eastern profound divine domain. Why aren't you thanking me?" He had specially entered the pure land of Buddhism to enjoy the feeling of being worshipped by the masses. "Thank you, my lord." The higher-ups of the pure land of Buddhism and countless Buddhist cultivators all knelt and bowed to holy sovereign Siezhu. Every pore of holy sovereign Siezhu felt extremely comfortable. Suddenly, from today onwards, the Pure Land of Buddhism will be the third most powerful force in the Eastern profound divine domain, second only to the three highest profound sects and the Luo Shao sword sect. Dong Xiandaozu's voice reverberated in the Pure Land of Buddhism. Same auspice will have descended upon the entire Eastern profound divine domain. All the leaders of the forces could sense his will. We obey Daozu's decree. Dong Xiandaozu's will shook the entire Eastern profound divine domain. Thank you, Dong Xiandaozu. The countless cultivators and mortals of the Pure Land of Buddhism were all shocked and surprised. They all knelt down and bowed. Siezhu Holy Sovereign Siezhu snorted coldly. "How dare you snatch it from me?" "Umph. For Su Fang's sake, I won't lower myself to your level." Daozu's voice rang out again. "There's no need to thank me. It's all thanks to Su Fang that the Buddhist sect is where it is today." The people of the Pure Land of Buddhism bowed again and thanked Su Fang in their hearts. From the void, silhouettes of Buddhist cultivators walked out. These silhouettes were the will of the Pure Land of Buddhism's fallen experts, branded in the Pure Land of Buddhism's heavenly Tao. Now that Buddhism was about to prosper, these wills sensed it and showed themselves. Will the silhouettes kept pouring out of the void, their numbers uncountable. All of them put their palms together and bowed to holy, sovereign Siezhu. The will of the void and the power of faith surged toward holy, sovereign Siezhu like a tide. Holy sovereign Siezhu was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. "Oh my!" Su Fang's voice rang out from his Tao palace. "Don't be happy too early. They're bowing to me, not you." Holy sovereign Siezhu's smile froze on his face. Su Fang suddenly spoke in an urgent voice. "Quickly return to the celestial pavilion and meet with this noble one. I can sense that my good corpse is about to be born." Chapter 3199. East Profound Heaven Pavilion. Heaven. Inside Quan Xing's abode. The moment Su Fang's clone merged with his main body, he felt the good karma in his body rapidly expand and separate from him. After a dozen breaths of time, boom, Su Fang felt as if his entire body was about to explode. A surge of aura rushed out of his body in an instant. Here, Su Fang was shrouded in a peaceful, gentle, and holy aura. He was like a sage who had achieved the Tao, a Buddhist almighty. The good corpse was born. Here, with this, Su Fang's chosen corpses, evil corpses, and good corpses were all born. Here, it meant that Su Fang had taken a huge step forward on his path to the peak, stepping onto a new stair. Here, the birth of the three corpses also meant that Su Fang had the qualifications to ascend to a Daozu and obtain the Tao immortal realm. Congratulations, Master. I believe it won't be long before you become a Daozu. You might even achieve eternal immortality like this subordinate's previous master. The longevity lamp's original spirit spoke from the Taoist palace. There was a reverence in its voice that had never been there before. Although Su Fang was overjoyed, he didn't let it go to his head. He shook his head and smiled. It's not easy to ascend to a Daozu, let alone eternal immortality. The longevity lamp said, the main reason is that Master is a human. The human race's level of life is too low. The current resources of the human race can't help Master transform. If Master was born of the Tensei people, you wouldn't have such worries. If Master wants to reach the peak, he can only rely on the supreme treasures born in the chaos. In Su Fong, both the great Tao realm and the Tao heart were no longer obstacles. The only thing lacking was resources. The human race is still too weak. Su Fong sighed in his heart. Whoosh! A ray of starlight shot out of the abode and quickly transformed into the figure of Dongxian Daozu. Su! Fong Jingji got up and cupped his fists. Sure, Zuin. The eyes of the shadow of Dongxian Daozu flashed with starlight. He sized up Su Fong and said, "It seems that you have gained a lot from this trip to the Pure Land of Buddhism. You should be able to break through to Daozu. If you need anything, just tell me." Su Fong shook his head and said, "Disciple plans to wait until I pass through the second heaven of the Luai's original realm before attempting to break through the Daozu." Xian Daozu raised his eyebrows. "What? The Luai's origin realm's second heaven tested one's Tao heart and willpower, not one's cultivation base. Although your disciple's Tao heart has reached a new height, it has yet to reach the great circle of perfection. In the Leisure origin realm, you cannot fail even once. Therefore, before entering the Leisure origin realm, your disciple needs to further improve his state of mind. Besides, I haven't been cultivating for a long time, so I'm lacking in consolidation. Now, I'm lacking in powerful resources, so it's better to wait." Xian Daozu nodded and said, "It seems that you can still maintain your calm. On the other hand, your master is a little impatient." Su Fong suddenly thought of something and asked Dongxian Daozu, "Master, do you know about the Tensei people?" Xian Daozu frowned, and his eyes turned serious. "I have also ventured into the outer realm of chaos before. Naturally, I know about the Tensei people. They are the higher race among the chaos races. Could it be that you have offended the Tensei people? That would be troublesome." Su Fong slowly told Dongxian Daozu about the Tensei people's Zhou Nuo possibly being tested in the Leisure origin realm. Su Fong and Zhou Nuo entered the Leisure origin realm together. Although they never met again, Su Fong also suspected that Zhou Nuo had died in the first heaven. After leaving the Leisure origin realm, the Hu people and Daozu from the Yi clan chased after Su Fong, but they were killed by Su Fong instead. Unfortunately, things happened in a hurry. Su Fong didn't have the time to search their souls. He didn't know if the Tensei people's young prince had survived the Leisure origin realm. When he heard the longevity lamp mention the Tensei people, Su Fong realized that with the Tensei people's strength, Zhou Nuo had a high chance of passing the first heaven's test in the Leisure origin realm. "I didn't expect that there would be such a strong competitor. However, it doesn't matter. Zhou Nuo's cultivation is far inferior to yours. In terms of Tao heart and willpower, it's even harder for him to be your opponent. He might have already died in the first heaven's test. There's nothing to worry about." "Master is right," Su Fong said. Su Fong smiled casually. A strong sense of confidence rose in him. Even if Zhou Nuo didn't die, so what? Su Fong was also confident that he could surpass any competitor and become the supreme ruler of the Leisure origin realm. Dongxian Daozu reminded him again, "Don't be careless. In the Leisure origin realm, try to avoid the Tensei people's young prince if you can. If you have the chance, kill him immediately to prevent any future troubles." "Master, don't worry. I understand." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. His aura changed drastically in an instant. He turned into an evil and ferocious god of slaughter. Su Fong had the three corpses, Ji, good, and evil. In other words, he had three completely different sides. The Ji corpse was devoted to the Tao. The good corpse was only kind to the human race and his loved ones. As for his enemies, he was only ruthless and murderous. After ending the conversation with Dongxian Daozu, Su Fong settled down in the cave and stabilized his Tao heart. At the same time, he also cultivated and accumulated his cultivation techniques. When the second trial of the Leisure origin realm was over, he would attempt to break through to the Daozu. Time flew by quickly. Su Fong had unknowingly spent 30 million years in the cave. The time inside Quan Xing's cave was different from the time outside. 30 million years of cultivation for Su Fong in the cave was equivalent to 300,000 years in the outside world. In 30 million years, the sea could turn into mulberry fields. The world could change. The sea could dry up and the rocks could rot. However, for a cultivator at Su Fong's level, 30 million years was not a short time, but it was definitely not a long time. Su Fong slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life. Soon after, they returned to their deep and calm state. Connect. His body and Dao Palace sensed. My cultivation is only half a step away from the Daozu. The only thing I lack now is resources. Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed a leaf. It was given to him by the precious tree Divine Mother to communicate with each other. The more I ask from the heavenly tree race, the greater the karma will be. Unless it's the most crucial moment, I don't need the help of the precious tree Divine Mother. After thinking for a while, Su Fong dispelled the thought and absorbed the leaf back into his body. My Tao heart has finally merged all the ice heart flowers and the immortal heavenly heart stone. However, I'm still a little bit away from the immortal Tao heart. Although the ice heart flowers and the immortal heavenly heart stone were extremely difficult to merge, after 30 million years, Su Fong had finally completely merged the two treasures. No, I still haven't cultivated the immortal Tao heart. I'm almost at the 9th level of the immortal Tao heart. It's because my state of mind hasn't truly reached the great perfection realm. Thus, I'm still one step away from the true immortal Tao heart. Why is it so difficult for my Tao heart to reach the great perfection realm? It seems like my cultivation is still not enough. Su Fong waved away the disappointment in his heart. With his current state of mind, nothing could affect his mood. It's very difficult for my state of mind to improve by cultivating in seclusion. Fine, I'll put aside the matter of cultivation for now. I'll go and accompany father, senior sister by Qingyu, and the others to relax. Su Fong stopped cultivating and left the cave. Then, in the next 10,000 years, Su Fong let go of everything. He no longer thought about cultivation. He also didn't think about the test in the Luai's original realm. He also didn't worry about the future of the human race. While he was like an ordinary person, reuniting with his father Su Yaotian, Shu Wanjin, Bai Ling, Qingyu, and other relatives and friends. He also reunited with Gu Tianqi, Shu Chongxiao, and other friends. Period. Due to the improvement of his state of mind, Su Fong no longer avoided Shu Wanjin in his heart. He broke through the barrier between his heart and her. His body and soul were honest with each other. The yin and yang of his body and soul merged. One day, Su Fong, while Fong Zheng was communicating with his father Su Yaotian, the sage of wine suddenly sent him a divine thought. Su Fong, there's something very interesting. Do you want to hear it? Su Fong smiled and replied, Senior Martial Brother, what is it? A peerless genius has appeared in the human race. In terms of talent and speed of improvement, he is definitely not inferior to you. This is a good thing. If it's just because of this, Senior Martial Brother Sage of Wine will definitely not find it interesting, right? Looks like I can't hide it from you. Ha! Not long ago, the geniuses of the various major forces of the human race gathered in the stalwart star city of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain and held a genius competition. Among them, there was a peerless genius called Luo Qing who stood out from the countless geniuses. He defeated the geniuses of the various major forces and obtained the title of the number 1 genius of the human race. The number 1 genius of the human race? Su Fong smiled slightly. Back then, he had defied the heavens and rose to become the number 1 genius of the human race in the Zhoushuan. Now that he thought about it, everything was still vivid in his mind. Then he asked, could it be that something interesting happened to that Luo Qing? That's right. The Sage of Wine replied with a smile. Then he told him about Luo Qing's origin. Original Luo Qing was from the heaven-forsaken desolation region of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain, and he was of lowly birth. However, his natural talent was truly shocking. Since he stepped onto the path of cultivation, he revealed peerless brilliance all along the way, and he rose up like a blazing sun. Supposedly, Luo Qing had utilized less than 50,000 years to advance from the true Dao realm to the Dao Lord realm. So, it could be said to be world-shocking that he was able to attain such a shocking speed of improvement with such a lowly birth. The most peculiar part is that the Grand Dao he cultivates is actually Master's Grand Dao of Void. Don't you think that's strange? Master's Grand Dao of Void? Su Fong was surprised in his heart, and his brows knit together as he continued. Perhaps some of the inheritances of the western profound mountain range fell into the hands of the Xeno race, and then it was passed down to the human race from the Xeno race. That's quite possible. Interestingly, Luo Qing actually boasted in public that he would definitely surpass you in the future after he seized the first position in the competition. Surpass me? Su Fong was stunned. Su He chuckled and said, "It's a good thing that the younger generation has such ambitions. I'm just afraid that they're too ambitious." Chapter 3200. Su Fong finally understood the wine sage's intention. He then replied with a smile, "Senior brother is afraid that I will suppress Luo Qing in the future after hearing his arrogant words. So you came to ask for my opinion in advance, right? Am I, Su Fong, that narrow-minded? Senior brother wine sage, you and I are from the same sect. Don't be too distant in front of me in the future." With Su Fong's current strength, even the wine sage had to be careful in front of him. This made Su Fong feel lonely at the top. Junior Martial Brother is indeed smart. You can see through Senior Martial Brother's thoughts at once. Ha! Just as he was about to end his conversation with the wine sage, Su Fong's heart suddenly moved. He said, "Senior Brother, give me a copy of Luo Qing's portrait." The wine sage laughed. "Don't tell me you want to steal my disciple." Whoosh! A jade slip broke through the air and was caught by Su Fong. Jade the slip quickly melted in Su Fong's hand and turned into a lifelike figure. It was a young man who looked to be only 18 years old. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had an imposing appearance and a sharp aura. Seeing this figure, Su Fong vaguely felt a sense of déjà vu, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. Buzz, come. The Dao rune of the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, suddenly trembled slightly. The Tianming Dharma body also sensed something from that figure. It made Su Fong feel that he was connected to that figure by fate. The figure formed by the jade slip was the wine sage's thought. It didn't have Luo Qing's fate aura. The Dao rune of the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, and the Tianming Dharma body couldn't sense Luo Qing's fate aura. However, Su Fong's current cultivation and mastery of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique had reached an astonishing level. He could faintly sense it with just a figure. Why does this Luo Qing make me feel this way? Su Fong was surprised and used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. After a series of deductions, Su Fong's heart suddenly shook. Then, a terrifying divine light shot out from his eyes. He had already deduced that the peerless genius called Luo Qing was the reincarnation of Shi Xian Daozu, although he did not know how many times Shi Xian Daozu had reincarnated. But Su Fong was certain that Luo Qing was undoubtedly the reincarnation of Shi Xian Daozu. Also only the reincarnation of Shi Xian Daozu would possess the arts and abhina of the formless great Dao, because he didn't need any inheritance at all, nor did he need anyone to guide him in his cultivation. As his cultivation increased, he would naturally obtain the inheritance of his previous life's cultivation methods, and even one day, he would recover the memories of his previous life. I never would have thought that Luo Qing was actually Master's reincarnation. Su Fong was shocked, and then he was pleasantly surprised. Su Fong took a deep breath and quickly calmed down. After pondering for a moment, Su Fong sent a thought to the wine sage. "Master, where is Luo Qing now? I want to see him." The competition between the geniuses of the human race has just ended, so he's still in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. Luo Qing is currently in Stalwart Star City, the wine sage replied. Then realizing something, he asked, "Don't tell me you've really taken a fancy to Luo Qing's talent and want to take him as your disciple." "Don't worry, senior brother. I definitely won't fight over this disciple with you. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. Wine the Wine Sage actually wanted to take the reincarnation of Shi Xian Daozu as his disciple. Fate was truly making fools of people. Su Fong immediately left Migre's star, flew out of Heaven Pavilion's internal space, and then directly teleported away. In less than 10 days, Su Fong appeared in the air above Stalwart Star City. Su Fong had been to Stalwart Star City once before, and this time, it could be considered an old visit. Back then, the Yi clan had lured Su Fong to Stalwart Star City, wanting to kill him. Now that the Yi clan had sided with the Tensei people, and Daozu of the Yi clan had been killed by Su Fong, they were destined to quickly decline, and the once glorious Yi clan would become history sooner or later. But Su Fong had gone from being a small cultivator who was bullied and hunted by the 5 great divine clans to becoming a top cultivator of the human race, and even deciding the fate of the human race. There's a saying in the mortal world, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river. It's probably referring to me and the 5 great divine clans. Su Fong murmured to himself. Fong sighed inwardly, then projected his sensing ability. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 2 very familiar auras of destiny actually caused the Dao runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to flash rapidly in the Dao Palace. Heaven, his life Dharma body, naturally sensed where the 2 auras came from. Among them, one of the auras of nothingness came from Dark Mother Daozu, who was currently hiding inside Stalwart Star City. I didn't expect to meet Master's wife in Stalwart Star City. Perhaps she saw some clues from Luo Qing, so she came to investigate. Su Fong pondered for a moment, then understood Dark Mother Daozu's intentions. Also, the other aura surprised Su Fong even more. An uncontrollable killing intent surged from the bottom of his heart. That familiar aura of destiny came from someone Su Fong had never expected. The former first elder of the Western Mystery Mountain's Punishment Hall. Su Fong, after entering the Western Mystery Mountain, Su Fong had been repeatedly suppressed by the Punishment Hall First Elder. He had even set up a trap in an attempt to kill Su Fong. During the Battle of the Western Mystery Mountain, it was the Punishment Hall First Elder who had ambushed the Sovereign, causing his plan to fail. Countless Western Mystery Mountain cultivators had died at the hands of the foreign races because of this. Palm the Sovereign had also been ambushed by the Punishment Hall First Elder. In the end, he had burned himself to death. After the Battle of the Western Mystery Mountain, Su Fong had thought that the Punishment Hall First Elder had died long ago. He had never imagined that he would meet him again in Stalwart Star City. I've captured you this time. If I don't skin you alive and refine your soul for eternity, I'm not Su Fong. Fong's consciousness was instantly dominated by the evil corpse, and his heart was filled with killing intent. Receive after sensing it. Su Fong couldn't help but feel surprised again. He stayed in the air, suppressing his killing intent towards the Punishment Hall First Elder. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. 1. A young cultivator wearing a green Taoist robe came out of the passage of Stalwart Star City. Then, he quickly left with a profound sword. This young cultivator was the peerless genius Luo Qing that Su Fong was looking for in Stalwart Star City. Su Fong used the life-shrinking technique to carefully sense Luo Qing's destiny. That's right, Luo Qing is indeed Master's reincarnation. Master's reincarnation still has the aura of destiny from his previous life. It seems that Master hasn't reincarnated many times. Otherwise, his aura of destiny would become fainter and fainter. Even the life-shrinking technique would not be able to sense it. Su Fong stared at Luo Qing. His heart couldn't help but surge. If it wasn't for Shi Xian Daozu, he would have been destroyed along with the Pansong universe. How could he have achieved what he had today? West. Shi Xian Daozu treated Su Fong like family. Su Fong also saw Shi Xian Daozu as his father. Shi Xian Daozu had died in the Battle of Shi Xian Mountain. While Su Fong knew that he could reincarnate, he could not be reassured. Su Fong finally concluded that Luo Qing was Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnation. How could he not be excited? No, while he was excited, Su Fong did not have any intentions of going to recognize him. Shi Daozu had reincarnated. Any unexpected factor could cause his destiny to change. Due to this, Su Fong had not deliberately searched for his reincarnation. Guan, this concerned Shi Daozu's future. How could Su Fong not be careful? While he had found Shi Daozu's reincarnation, he could not go and recognize him. He could only observe silently. Whoosh, less than 10 breaths after Luo Qing left Stalwart Star City, a figure also left Stalwart Star City and teleported in front of Luo Qing. Zheng. It was the first Elder of Punishment. What does the first Elder of Punishment want to do? Su Fong's brow furrowed. He had a bad feeling. Luo Qing greets Elder. Luo Qing felt the first Elder of Punishment's presence was unfathomable. His cultivation surpassed his imagination. He was shocked and politely bowed to the first Elder of Punishment. The first Elder of Punishment smiled darkly. Junior, you do not have to be courteous to this seat. It is the opposite. You should hate this seat to the bone. Luo Qing's eyebrows rose. What does Elder mean? This seat is about to kill you. What are you thanking this seat for? The first Elder of Punishment gave a dark and cold laugh. A presence immediately restrained Luo Qing. The first Elder of Punishment was a half-step Daozu. No matter how talented Luo Qing was, he was just a Daozu cultivator right now. Under the first Elder of Punishment's presence, he could not resist. Luo Qing was shocked. He looked with anger and discontent at the first Elder of Punishment, but could not make a sound. He could not even gather his consciousness. You must be very curious as to why this seat wants to kill you, right? The first Elder of Punishment stared at Luo Qing and said indifferently, "This seat is not here to seek revenge from the forces of the geniuses you killed. This seat is here because of your arrogant words." Luo Qing's eyes were full of confusion. "I might as well let you die with a clear understanding. You are the peerless genius of the human race after Su Fong. This seat is now working for the sacred race. This seat came to the human world to eradicate the geniuses of the human race. It was because I was soft-hearted that I did not kill Su Fong before he rose to power that I lost my reputation and had to rely on the sacred race. Now, I will not make the same mistake again. As long as there are geniuses in the human race, I will not be soft-hearted and kill them, completely eradicating any future troubles. You are the target of the sacred race. It just so happens that you arrogantly said that you will surpass Su Fong. After killing you, I can shift the blame to Su Fong and damage Su Fong's reputation. It can be said that this is killing two birds with one stone." The first Elder of Punishment smirked darkly and was very smug. So the first Elder of Punishment has this idea. Viciousness rose in Su Fong's heart. Just as he prepared to appear and kill the first Elder of Punishment, Su Fong suddenly stopped. "If I act, it is interfering with the fate of Master's reincarnation. It will bring unpredictable effects to Master's cultivation. I cannot act." Fong Ming suddenly realized the consequences of his actions and was caught in a dilemma. How could Su Fong tolerate watching Shi Daozu's reincarnation be killed? But Su Fong had to consider the price of acting. What should he do? It was difficult for Su Fong to make a decision. Chapter 3201. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong made the most rational and helpless decision. Don't save him. Su Daozu, Xian, needed 9 lifetimes to cultivate after reincarnating. In his previous life, he had died before he could rise. This was his fate. If Su Fong acted now, he could easily save him and help him become a Dao Saint or even Daozu. This would affect Shi Daozu's 9 lifetimes of reincarnation, and he would not be able to reach the peak of Daozu. However, seeing his loved one die in front of him, while Su Fong's heart was as calm as the world, he still felt great pain. At the same time, Su Fong felt great helplessness. Only now did he realize that even if he stood at the peak, he could not do as he pleased. He had to make painful choices. Suddenly, Su Fong's brow furrowed. He sent his consciousness over. "Shermu, you must not act." So was Mother Daozu. She also saw Chief Elder of Punishment wanting to kill Luo Qing and wanted to act to suppress Chief Elder of Punishment. Dao Father Dark Mother let out a cold snort, then disappeared without a trace. She actually flew into the air and left Stalwart Star City. With Mother Daozu's strength, how could she not know the consequences of acting? Su Fong. But when she saw this, she could not control herself. Su Fong stopped her, and she had to leave. It is this seat's honor to be able to kill the #1 genius of the human race. Pity it is not Su Fong. Luo Qing died. Chief Elder of Punishment cast a lightning spell and killed Luo Qing. Luo Qing turned to dust and disappeared. Luo Qing no longer existed in the world. Shixin Daozu also finished this lifetime of reincarnation. Su Fong, Chief Elder of Punishment, was very smug. In the next moment, a sharp and murderous intent descended and covered him. Chief Elder of Punishment seemed to fall into an ice cave. His Dao heart trembled, his mind started to collapse, and his body trembled. A powerful Daozu and a powerful Daozu. Who is it? Chief Elder of Punishment was shocked. Su Fong's figure slowly appeared in front of the first Elder of Punishment. Su Fong? Why are you here? The great Elder of Punishment was surprised, and his heart sank into a bottomless abyss. Although I can't stop you from killing people, I can kill you. At this moment, he was completely dominated by the evil corpse, like a god of death from hell. The great Elder of Punishment revealed a look of realization. So you were hiding in the dark. When you saw that I was going to kill that human genius, you didn't save him. So you wanted to use me to get rid of that arrogant Luo Qing. Who would have thought that Su Fong would be such a despicable person? Su Fong said coldly, measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. What right do you have to live in this world? Don't worry, I won't let you die quickly. I will devour your life, strip your soul, and let your soul be burned and tortured in the longevity lamp for eternity. Su Fong, you are only at the peak of Dao, Saint now. You are at the same level as me. If you want to kill me, how can I let you do as you wish? The great Elder of Punishment let out a thunderous roar and immediately began to burn his mind. He planned to fight Su Fong to the death. In front of me, you are just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. You can't even die, let alone escape. Su Fong sneered indifferently. Ning, the shadow of a bronze oil lamp, appeared in the great Elder of Punishment's eyes. As the flame flickered, the great Elder of Punishment's soul origin began to be stripped from his body uncontrollably. Longevity lamp? The great Elder of Punishment was terrified. When Su Fong was still a Dao Saint, he could injure Daozu by activating the longevity lamp. Now that he was only one step away from Daozu, how powerful would the longevity lamp be? The person who killed Luo Qing is Su Fong. The great Elder of Punishment gave up resisting, but suddenly opened his mouth and let out a thunderous roar. The entire Stalwart Star City could hear his voice. This shameless person wanted to bite back at Su Fong even at death's door. Su Fong's expression was indifferent. His eyes were ferocious and cold. He didn't stop the great Elder of Punishment. That was because he didn't care at all. Thus, with his strength and cultivation level, he didn't care about any criticism from the outside world. No matter how the great Elder of Punishment struggled, he couldn't stop his soul from flying out of his body. Swish! Swish! A blood vine shot out from Su Fong's palm, wrapped around the great Elder of Punishment's body, and sucked it into the Dao Palace. Then after a frenzied devouring, in less than half an hour, the great Elder of Punishment was devoured until only a pile of ashes was left. Xing, the great Elder of Punishment's soul, was also devoured by the longevity lamp. However, Su Fong didn't intend to let him die so easily. Instead, he shackled him in a formation inside the longevity lamp. Because Su Fong controlled the power of the longevity lamp, the great Elder of Punishment's soul was always conscious. He also realized what he was about to face. In the formation, he shouted angrily, Su Fong, what are you doing? Why don't you just kill me? Wouldn't it be too easy for you if I killed you? I just said that I'll make you feel that death is an extravagant hope. Su Fong's indifferent voice came. Su Fong, What's the difference between you and those evil cultivators and the alien races? Kill me quickly. Ah. The great elder of punishment tried to enrage Su Fong so that he could end the pain as soon as possible. However, before the voice of his primordial spirit faded away, a soul fire gushed out from the formation beside him. It enveloped his soul and began to burn crazily. Even Su Fong almost couldn't bear the intense pain of his soul being burned, let alone the great elder of punishment. Under the intense pain, the great elder of punishment screamed like a ferocious ghost. However, this was just the beginning. What awaited the great elder of punishment was eternal torture. As long as Su Fong didn't die and the longevity lamp didn't extinguish, his soul would continue to be burned. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Hundreds of cultivators flew out of Stalwart Star City. There were also dozens of invisible, sensing forces that swept past Su Fong. It's really Su Fong. It's really Su Fong. Why is Su Fong in Stalwart Star City? Who was that voice just now? It said that Su Fong killed Luo Qing. When everyone saw Su Fong, no one was not surprised, and no one was not suspicious. Su Fong naturally wouldn't explain anything. He took a step into the void and teleported out of Stalwart Star City. Just now, someone shouted that Su Fong killed Luo Qing. Could it be that Luo Qing's arrogance caused him to be killed? I didn't expect Su Fong to be so narrow-minded. Luo Qing only announced in public that he wanted to surpass him. He didn't have any intention to offend him, but he was killed. Shut up. What kind of person is Su Fong? How can we discuss his matters? Luo Qing is just a Dao Lord. Why would Su Fong kill him? After Su Fong left, the cultivators discussed animatedly. Su Fong returned to Heaven Pavilion and entered the inner space of the cave abode. The great Tao is heartless. Cultivate the Jiuxuan Wuji scripture and cultivate the three separations. After that, it's to forget emotions and sever corpses. Do I have to sever everything? Su Fong was silent for a long time and then sighed. Witnessing Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnation being killed, but not being able to save him still affected Su Fong's state of mind. This was also because Su Fong's Dao heart had not reached the realm of perfection that could tolerate everything. While he could tolerate all temptations and will attacks, his family was the softest part of his heart. It was hard for him to accept the reality that Shi Xian Daozu had died in front of him. Whoosh! But Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed out a ray of divine light. The Wine Saint's lifelike shadow bloomed in his palm. The Wine Saint hesitated and then said, Su Fong, there are rumors outside that say. Su Fong said coolly, since they are rumors, why does Senior Sect Brother believe them? Why don't you explain? Is there anything in the human world that needs my explanation? Su Fong smiled lightly. Does Senior Sect Brother also believe that I killed Luo Qing? How can I not know what kind of person you are? Senior Sect Brother, you will understand in the future. There are some things I cannot say to you now. Senior Sect Brother understands. I will teach those people who spread the rumors a lesson. After finishing his conversation with the Wine Saint, Dong Xindaozu's thought came to Su Fong's residence. Su Fong, Master detects that your Dao heart is slightly unstable. Have those rumors affected your state of mind? What happened? Su asked. Su Fong told Dong Xindaozu everything without concealing anything. East Daozu sighed and said, this probably is fate playing tricks on people. Everything is determined. Do not shake your Dao heart because of this matter. Su Fong nodded and said, this disciple understands. After this, Su Fong started to settle into cultivation. He did not pay attention to anything in the outside world and did not investigate Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnation. However, the matter of Dao ancestor Shi Xian's reincarnation being killed still caused Su Fong's Dao heart to be shackled. He was still unable to cultivate his Dao heart to the Great Circle realm, and his eternal Dao heart remained at the 9th level. Years. The moon changed, and time passed. 100,000 years passed. Su Fong completely disappeared from the eyes of the world. The human world was in a state of peace. There were unparalleled geniuses who rose to power, but there were also geniuses who fell. Su Fong Fong was gradually forgotten by most cultivators. As time passed, he became an existence like Daozu in the minds of most human cultivators, powerful and mysterious. One day, Su Fong, who had been in seclusion, suddenly flew out of his residence. He sent out his sensory power and felt the presence of his family, friends, and subordinates. Su Fong smiled slightly, and his eyes showed determination and persistence. Xian Daozu suddenly transmitted his thought. Su Fong, are you preparing to enter the Lei Zhe original realm? The time limit to enter the Lei Zhe original realm was approaching. Su Fong was preparing to leave Heaven Pavilion and enter the Lei Zhe original realm when the time was up. Failure in the Lei Zhe original realm's 9 heavens trial meant death. Su Fong might not return this time. Thus, Dongxin Daozu's tone was very serious. Master, don't worry. The Lei Zhe original realm's 2nd heaven trial is nothing to me. Chapter 3202. Su Fong left the eastern profound divine realm and traveled all the way to the outer chaos. He found a cold, empty place and sat down cross-legged in the outer chaos, waiting for the Thunderlock original realm to open. Lightning. The Thunderlock original realm was one with the heavenly Tao. No matter where Su Fong was, the heavenly Tao would sense where Su Fong was after 1,000,000 years and suck Su Fong into the Thunderlock original realm. The reason Su Fong waited in the outer chaos was because he didn't want to draw attention to himself. Su Fong couldn't let outsiders know about the Thunderlock original realm, so he had to be careful. Just like that, while Su Fong was waiting for the Thunderlock original realm to open, Zhou Nuo was preparing to enter the Thunderlock original realm among the Tensei, people who were separated from the human world. 1. Zhou Nuo sat cross-legged on a giant altar floating in the outer chaos. Zhou Nuo still looked like a 15-year-old boy, but his aura was stronger than before. He was no longer in the Tao Void realm, but the Middle Tao Saint realm. With Zhou Nuo's talent and the Tensei people's resources, it wasn't surprising that he could reach the Middle Tao Saint realm in 1,000,000 years. Just like that, around the spell altar, over 100,000 Eternal Clan cultivators stood in the air, respectfully facing Zhou Nuo on the spell altar. Among them was a middle-aged man wearing a golden crown and yellow robes. His face was similar to Zhou Nuo's, and he exuded a sacred and noble aura. He was Zhou Nuo's father and a king of the Tensei people. The middle-aged man looked at Zhou Nuo with worry and anxiety in his eyes. He transmitted a message to Zhou Nuo. Zhou Nuo, you must be careful. Zhou Nuo snorted coldly. Father, you're worried that if I die in the Thunderlock original realm, you won't be a king for long, right? The middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. I'm your father. How can I not be worried about your safety? Zhou Nuo replied indifferently. Don't worry, father. I won't die. Everything in the Thunderlock original realm belongs to me, and I will become eternal. Not only will you be a king, but you will also become a king of the Tensei people because of me. You will enjoy wealth and glory forever. Then your father can rest assured. The middle-aged man's eyes suddenly became hale and hearty. Nuo suddenly asked, I asked you to track down the heaven-piercing Blood King Rotan. Have you found his whereabouts? After Lai Zhenhua left the original Lightning Domain, he left the Yi clan and Hu people Daozu in the Ruins of God to wait for the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to enter the original Lightning Domain. Oh, God got it. The heavenly Blood King Vine was not caught, and the Yi clan and Hu people Daozu had actually fallen. Zhou Nuo suspected that not only was the heaven-piercing Blood King Rotan not dead, but had also killed 2 human Daozu. Therefore, he sent people to investigate. Yunua's father shook his head and said, the sky-piercing Blood King Vine is a high-level life form, but it is extremely rare in the chaos. It is very difficult to find the sky-piercing Blood King Vine that entered the Luai's original realm. You're truly useless. If you were my father. Zhou Nuo let out a cold snort. He seemed to be extremely displeased, and the voice of his soul was filled with killing intent. However, a figure that seemed to be a projection of the heavenly Tao appeared on the altar. It transformed into a middle-aged man in a green robe. This person had an ordinary appearance, but he exuded a sacred and immortal aura. He was the seventh forefather of the Tensei people, an immortal existence that surpassed the Daozu. Greetings, seventh forefather. Nuo hurriedly knelt down. Lamani Tensei people around the altar also knelt down. I can sense that the original lightning domain is about to open. Are you ready, Zhou Nuo? The seventh forefather of the Tensei people stared at Zhou Nuo. Don't worry, seventh forefather. I will definitely be able to pass the second trial easily, Zhou Nuo said confidently. The seventh forefather of the Tensei people said coldly. You have used all kinds of methods in the past 1,000,000 years. I have also helped you personally, but you still haven't cultivated your Tao heart to the third stage of perfection. You have disappointed me. Zhou Nuo trembled. I am useless. In order for you to pass the test of the second heaven, the lost sea of heart, I did not hesitate to kill a Tao ancestor of the Stupa clan and cast a forbidden spell to fuse his Tao heart with yours, allowing you to temporarily attain the perfected third heaven of Tao heart. If you fail again, it's fine if you die in the Thunder Lake original realm, but your family. You also know the consequences. I understand. Zhou Nuo trembled. Heaven, although the Ian race was one of the higher races in the chaos, the internal competition was 10 times more brutal than the average race. The Tensei people would spare no expense to nurture their clansmen who had a promising future. They would give them power and resources if they wanted. However, if they failed, the outcome would be very tragic. Eon, if Zhou Nuo failed in the original lightning domain, not only would he die, but his clansmen would also lose their power. They would also become slaves of other clansmen, which was equivalent to being obliterated. Rumble. A large patch of lightning appeared in the sky, forming a giant heavenly gate amidst the rumbling of thunder. Go, don't disappoint me. The Tensei people's seventh forefather waved his hand. Eon Zhou Nuo cupped his fists and bowed to the Tensei people's seventh forefather before flying toward the heavenly gate. Swish! When he was 10,000 feet away from the heavenly gate, a patch of lightning surged and enveloped Zhou Nuo, sucking him into the heavenly gate. Wait! Zhou Nuo disappeared, and the heavenly gate turned into lightning and disappeared into the endless void. As Su Fong had left the original lightning domain a few hundred years later than Zhou Nuo, he entered the original lightning domain a few hundred years later. About 300 years after Zhou Nuo entered the Thunder Lock origin realm, Su Fong was also sucked into the heavenly gates that appeared out of thin air and entered the Thunder Lock origin realm. Whoosh! Su Fong appeared on the second level of the original lightning domain, which was the 33rd island in the Perplexed Heart Sea. The realm spirit's voice sounded in Su Fong's mind. Human cultivator, continue with your second level of trial. Remember, if you fail this time, you won't have any more chances. You'll be obliterated. I understand. Su Fong stepped out of the island, and a 300-foot-long ship formed from his Tao heart, and willpower immediately formed beneath him. Although the size of his ship didn't change much, it had become more sturdy. It was ancient vicissitudes of life and an aura of eternity. The realm spirit's surprised voice sounded. Human cultivator, it looks like you've gained a lot in the past 1,000,000 years. You're about to cultivate an immortal Tao heart. I underestimated you. Su Fong replied. Thank you for the compliment, Lord Realm Spirit. Don't be too happy. You haven't cultivated an immortal Tao heart yet, so you don't have a 100% chance of passing the second level of trial. Anything can happen. The Realm Spirit poured cold water on Su Fong. I'll do my best. Su Fong controlled the ship with his mind and sailed toward the 34th island. Boom, boom, boom. Monstrous waves rolled towards Su Fong, trying to overturn him and the ship. Such waves can't do anything to me, Su Fong. Su smiled. Fong smiled faintly. His strong confidence was fully displayed at this moment. The terrifying waves crazily hit the ship. At the same time, there was also an astonishing willpower, which attacked Su Fong's Tao heart and willpower like a storm. My heart is like the sky, and it can tolerate everything. No matter how big the waves are, when have I ever seen a wave that can overturn the sea? The ship shuttled back and forth in the raging waves. It seemed dangerous, but it was never overturned. Su Fang's Dao Heart ship seemed to have merged with the entire perplexed Heart Sea. No matter how great the waves were, the sea was still the sea. Su Fang's heart allowed the waves to roar. He directly accepted and tolerated them instead of resisting them. Naturally, it was difficult to shake his Dao heart. The ship shuttled through the waves without any mishaps. In less than 10 years, they arrived at the 34th island. Su Fang had 30 days to rest. Let Su Fang never expected to meet someone on the 34th island. It was Zhou Nuo from the Tensei people. Therefore, Su Fang was not surprised. He had already predicted that he might meet Zhou Nuo in the Luai's original realm. Zhou Nuo was even more shocked and surprised than Su Fang. You're a human cultivator? Since when did a lowly human enter the Luai's original realm? Zhou Nuo suddenly realized. You're the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. Su Fang's heart sank. Now that Zhou Nuo had discovered his identity, he did not know what kind of trouble it would bring in the future. It might even bring disaster to the entire human race. Kill him, Su Fang shouted. A fierce killing intent surged in Fang's heart. Who knew, without the power of will, he could not use any other power. Su Fang only then did Fang remember that in the Luai's original realms test, the clone that appeared was formed by his will. His original body was still in the first heaven. Zhou Nuo's killing intent also surged. At this time, the realm spirit's cold voice transmitted. Killing is forbidden in the second heaven. If you can pass the second heaven's test, you will have a chance in the later tests. Zhou Nuo said proudly, Lord Realm Spirit, I am from the Tensei people. Fighting with this lowly human is a humiliation to me. The Realm Spirit said coldly, as long as you can pass the Luai's original realms test, no matter what race you are, you can become the master of the Luai's original realm. Whoever passes the test first will obtain everything in the Luai's original realm. The other person will naturally be obliterated. Tensei Peoples Jr., your identity is useless in the Luai's original realm. If you have the ability, prove yourself with your strength. Zhou Nuo looked at Su Fang and snorted disdainfully. Insignificant and lowly human cultivator, what do you have to compete with me? The second heaven will be your burial ground. Su Fang said indifferently. Fang smiled casually. With his current level of Dao heart, there were no words that could cause a ripple in his Dao heart. Zhou Nuo was ignored by Su Fang and shouted angrily, Human cultivator, I'm talking to you. Chapter 32:03. Zhou Nuo was speechless, his face full of shame and anger. Su Fang smiled indifferently. Apart from your identity as the young prince of the Tensei people in your mouth, what else do you have to be so proud of? Why do you have to look down on me? With such a Dao heart, you want to pass the test of the second heaven? Zhou Nuo stared at Su Fang, his eyes surging with fierce killing intent. He said in a voice full of killing intent, Human cultivator, you better die in the sea of confusion. Either you kneel down and beg for mercy, or I will not only kill you, but I will also obliterate the entire human race. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and sat down on the island. In reality, his heart was filled with killing intent toward Zhou Nuo. However, since he couldn't kill him in the second heaven, what was the point of wasting his breath on him? He still had nearly 2/3 of the sea of confusion, so he had to concentrate all his energy on the following tests. How could he have the leisure to argue with Zhou Nuo? Human ant, I will always be waiting for you in front. Don't me leave you too far behind. I don't have the time to wait for you. Zhou Nuo thought that Su Fang was afraid, so he sneered disdainfully. Then, he stepped onto the Dao Heart ship and sailed towards the sea of confusion. On the island, Su Fang adjusted his mental state to its peak state and also drove the ship towards the 34th island. Just like that, Zhou Nuo and Su Fang, one in front and one behind, drove the Dao Heart ship and sailed through the sea of confusion. Zhou Nuo didn't go back on his word. Every time he arrived at an island, he would wait for Su Fang on the island. This young prince of the Tensei people was by no means an idiot. He naturally had his reasons for doing this. He wanted to use this method to form an invisible pressure on Su Fong. As long as a flaw appeared in Su Fong's Tao heart, the possibility of failure in the second heaven would greatly increase. Oh my, I know. In the face of Zhou Nuo's incessant provocations, Su Fong maintained a calm and unruffled demeanor from beginning to end. Zhou Nuo's various provocations were like a clown's to Su Fong. Zhou Nuo was disappointed that his plan had failed, and his killing intent towards Su Fong grew even stronger. About 1,000 years passed. Along the way, he had braved countless storms, and his Tao heart had also withstood all kinds of tests. Yes, shocking willpower attacks, painful experiences, temptations, and threats. Not only was his Tao heart sturdy and only one step away from the immortal Tao heart, but his Tao heart had also reached a level where it could encompass heaven and earth. When facing various dangers, pain, and temptations, Su Fong's Tao heart was like a boundless ocean, the heavens and the earth. It embraced and accepted everything, and it was impossible for his Tao heart to be lost or collapse. Su Fong finally set foot on the 88th island. He had already completed more than half of the second test. There were only 11 islands left. Su Fong set foot on the island and immediately sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes and began to rest. His Tao heart had been greatly exhausted, and he had to recover as soon as possible. Fortunately, after crossing the 66th island, the time to rest on the island had also increased. Every time, he would have 3 years to recover, which gave Su Fong a chance to catch his breath. I was able to reach this place not because of my true strength, but because of the Tao heart of the Stupa clan's Daozu. How can a low-level human possess such a shocking Tao heart and will? Zhou Nuo had reached the 88th island before Su Fong. When he saw Su Fong, his eyes were filled with intense fear and jealousy. Only one of us can survive in the Thunder Lake original realm. It's either I or that human cultivator. This person must not be left alive. In addition to being shocked, the killing intent in Zhou Nuo's heart became sharper. Zhou Su Fong was also surprised that Zhou Nuo could reach this place so easily. The Tensei people are indeed the upper race among the primal chaos races. A mere young disciple can actually possess such a Tao heart and will. It seems that Zhou Nuo has made sufficient preparations for the second test in the past 1,000,000 years. It should not be a problem for him. I can only try to kill him in the third test. The killing intent in Su Fong's heart was definitely not inferior to Zhou Nuo's. 10 years passed by in the blink of an eye. I will be able to pass the test of the second test, the Lost Heart Sea, after passing through 11 more islands. However, the next test will definitely be 10 times more difficult than the previous one. I have to be careful. Su Fong's eyes were filled with seriousness. He took a step out of the island and steered the Tao Heart ship, continuing to advance into the depths of the Lost Heart Sea. To Su Fong's surprise, the Lost Heart Sea, which was filled with torrential waves before, was now calm and tranquil. There was not a trace of wind, nor was there a single wave. It was as if he had entered a dead sea. Su Fong became more and more vigilant in his heart. That tranquil Lost Heart Sea actually contained great danger. The realm spirit's voice suddenly rang in Su Fong's mind. Human cultivator, you have to be careful. The next test you will face is the illusory sea inner demon. The illusory sea inner demon. With your current Tao heart, all the wills from the outside world will not be able to affect you. However, the inner demon comes from your heart and not from the outside world. It is the most difficult to resolve. Thank you for your reminder, Lord Realm Spirit. Why are you helping me? That junior of the Tensei people is borrowing the power of the forbidden technique. It is equivalent to cheating. For the sake of fairness, I am reminding you. I see. I was wondering how Zhou Nuo's Tao heart could reach such an astonishing height at such a young age. So it was because of the forbidden technique. He had just finished his conversation with the realm spirit. Boom! Outside, the Lost Heart Sea was still calm and tranquil. However, A huge wave suddenly surged in Su Fang's heart, causing him to instantly fall into an illusion. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Numerous lifelike figures of Su Fang appeared in front of Su Fang. Those figures were incomparably real, but they came from different periods of time. Small worlds, great worlds, myriad worlds, and even the Jioshuan divine realm. They were Su Fang from different periods of time, different places, different cultivation levels, and different mental states. Whoosh! They were thoughts condensed from Su Fang's sealed memories. Under the influence of the Lost Heart Sea, all of them surged out from the depths of Su Fang's memories, representing Su Fang's past. The thoughts swarmed towards Su Fang, each of them carrying a different and incomparably intense emotion. They wanted to seize Su Fang's consciousness. Once Su Fang's consciousness was dominated by his past self, it would be shackled and sink into the past. My Tao heart is like a mountain. Even my past self would find it difficult to shake my Tao heart. Cultivation is not only about defeating strong enemies. It is also about defeating oneself. Only by surpassing oneself again and again can one step onto the supreme peak. Slash. Su Fang's was like a blade, shattering the illusory figures one after another. Illusory in the illusion, new thoughts continuously surged out, transforming into numerous Su Fang figures that charged at Su Fang, wanting to seize his will. After an unknown period of time, Su Fang also did not know how many thoughts he had shattered. Whoosh! Suddenly, everything became clear and bright. The 90th island appeared in front of Su Fang's eyes. I've finally passed another trial. Su Fang wiped the sweat from his forehead. Even with his current strength, which was comparable to the powerful Daozu, he was sweating. There was still lingering fear in his heart. It was clear how terrifying his experience was. Human ant, you're too slow. I almost couldn't wait any longer. As soon as Su Fang stepped onto the island, Zhou Nua's mocking voice came from the island. Su Fang snorted coldly and sat down cross-legged on the island. He hurriedly seized the time to recover his Tao heart and will. The power of will consumed this time was 10 times more than before. It made Su Fang feel mentally and physically exhausted. I hope to see you again later. Zhou Nua let out a cold laugh, full of satisfaction and disdain, then left the island. The trials that Fang faced next became more and more terrifying. Not only were there memories of the past, but there were also imaginations of the future. They turned into willpower thoughts and attacked Su Fang's Tao heart. Shock, fear, self-blame, worry, and other negative emotions drowned his will and wanted to seize his consciousness. Su Fang couldn't escape. There was nowhere to escape the battle in his heart. He could only face it. The only thing he could do was to constantly kill those thoughts. In order to kill those thoughts from the past and the future, Su Fang not only consumed a large amount of willpower, but those thoughts also came from Su Fang himself. Killing those thoughts also consumed Su Fang's spirit and willpower. Su Fang consumed twice the amount of willpower. One could imagine the trials he was going through. 91 islands, 912, 93, all the way until the 96th island. Su Fang stumbled and fell to the ground as soon as he stepped onto the island. At this point, Su Fang's willpower was on the verge of collapse. His Tao heart was also exhausted. There was only one last thought left in his consciousness. So I'm my own strongest enemy. I'm 10 times, 100 times stronger than the enemies in the outside world. I can't defeat myself. This time, I'm afraid I'm going to die here. Su Fang used all his strength to sit up. His eyes were filled with bitterness and helplessness. No, I still want to reach the peak of the great Tao and achieve eternal immortality. My family, friends, subordinates, and the entire human race need my protection. The 10 directions divine masters, the foreign races, Zhou Na, these powerful enemies are still around. Just when Su Fang was feeling despair, strong willpower, kindness, and evil thoughts surged in his heart, urging him to pull himself together. The reason why I can't pass the following trials isn't because my Tao heart isn't strong or steady enough. It's because my realm isn't high enough. There must be a way to pass the trials. It's just that I haven't found it yet. Fong fell into deep thought. 310 years were about to pass. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Su Fong, who had been sitting cross-legged on the island, suddenly opened his eyes. His tired eyes flashed with a hale and hearty light. Why do I have to defeat myself? No one can defeat themselves. Cultivation is not about defeating themselves. I can tolerate all the willpower attacks and temptations from the outside world. Why can't I tolerate myself? Why do I have to defeat myself? Tolerance and acceptance of everything from the outside world and the self. This is the true state of emptiness and impurity. The heart is like heaven and earth. Chapter 32:04. Su Fong once again stepped onto the Tao Heart ship and sped towards the next island. Boom, boom. Confusion the perplexed mind's sea was still calm, but Su Fong's heart was in turmoil. Memories and thoughts from the past and the future transformed into illusory thoughts that rushed towards Su Fong. My heart is like the heavens. It can accommodate all external attacks, and it can also accommodate all of my own. Su Fong smiled and opened his heart completely to accommodate and accept everything. Thoughts instantly enveloped Su Fong. All kinds of emotions began to attack Su Fong's will, trying to dominate his consciousness. Luo Qing, go to hell. Great Elder Fa's sinister laughter suddenly rang out. The scene of Luo Qing being killed flashed through Su Fong's mind. You could have saved Master at that time. Why didn't you do it? Perhaps if you had saved him, it wouldn't have affected Master's reincarnation. His own voice rang out in Su Fong's mind. It was like a sharp blade stabbing into his Tao heart. Intense self-blame and guilt instantly enveloped his consciousness. With a detached heart, Su Fong felt the intense negative emotions. He calmly faced and accepted them. He did not resist or defend himself. No, not long after, the tide-like torrent of emotions turned into nothingness and was contained by Su Fong. Just in this way, Su Fong no longer regarded himself as a strong enemy, nor did he resist those thoughts. Just as the thoughts were contained by him, his Tao heart realm was also undergoing a very wonderful transformation, transforming and sublimating towards the great perfection. Whoosh! The Tao heart ship seemed to have sailed out of the fog, and the 97th island appeared in sight. All kinds of thoughts also disappeared without a trace in Su Fong's mind. Same as sat this time, Su Fong's heart also had a feeling of boundless sea and sky, unrestrained and unrestrained. It was only now that he finally understood what it meant to be truly empty, without impurities, and with a heart like the heavens and the earth. Just when Su Fong's state of mind improved again, Zhou Nuo had already set foot on the last island. This will descended and enveloped Zhou Nuo, then swept him out of the perplexed mind's sea. When he regained consciousness, he found that his consciousness had returned to his main body, while his main body, on the other hand, was in a part of nature, sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak. I have finally successfully passed through the second layer of the Leisha original realm. Is there any other obstacle that can stop me, Zhou Nuo? Zhou Nuo smiled confidently and revealed a domineering and lofty aura. Junior of the Tensei people, you've passed the test to the second layer of heaven. This is your reward. Realm Spirit's figure appeared on top of the mountain peak. He grabbed a Xianguang and flew it toward Zhou Nuo. Zhou Nuo grabbed the Xianguang, and an immortal jade appeared in his hand. His gaze instantly became spirited. Immortal Heaven Heart Jade? There are indeed great treasures in the Luai's origin realm. There are actually supreme treasures that can cultivate one's Tao heart. Realm Spirit said indifferently, "You're lucky this time. You used a forbidden technique to borrow another person's Tao heart and luckily passed. However, I have to warn you, if you continue to use this kind of cheating method in the next test, I will directly kill you with the Luai's origin realm's laws. Thank you for your reminder, Lord Realm Spirit. I won't do it again." Zhou Nuo's heart skipped a beat. He quickly cupped his fists and said. Then, he couldn't help but ask, "Lord Realm Spirit, may I ask how far did that human cultivator go before he died?" Died? Realm Spirit was startled. Then, he revealed an embarrassed smile. You don't have to worry about his result. Junior of the Tensei people, are you going to continue the test of the third layer of heaven, or are you going to leave? Zhou Nuo replied, now that I'm going to the third layer of heaven, it's equivalent to having an extra chance. Naturally, I won't miss it. I hope you'll be as lucky as the one in the perplexed mind see in the undying heaven of the third layer of heaven. Realm Spirit let out a cold and embarrassed voice. Then, he activated a world god's might and swept Zhou Nuo out of the second layer of heaven. Su Fong was still moving forward in the perplexed mind sea. Regardless of whether it was from the outside world or from the inside of his heart, the attacks and temptations were unable to shake Su Fong's will. Although it was still not easy, there was no danger to him anymore. Hua! Su Fong flew up from the Dao Heart ship and landed on the island. Part 199 Islands. Meaning Su Fong had finally passed the test of the second layer of heaven. You've really surprised me. I thought you would be trapped in the perplexed mind and die in the second layer of heaven. Realm Spirit's surprised voice sounded. Then, a world god's might swept Su Fong away. Su Fong regained his consciousness. He discovered that everything that happened just now was just an illusion that his consciousness experienced. His original body was sitting on the peak of a mountain in perfect condition. No, it was obviously not the first layer of heaven. The spirit, energy, and laws of this world were obviously of a higher level than the first layer of heaven. The first layer of heaven allowed the mortals of the low-level universes to survive. This place was the holy land for the immortals of the low-level universes to cultivate. The old man that Realm Spirit transformed into appeared in front of Su Fong. He nodded at Su Fong and said, Human cultivator, congratulations on passing the test of the second layer of heaven. I didn't expect that a mere human could have such a powerful Dao heart and state of mind. From now on, at least within the Daozu realm, you won't have any shackles on your state of mind. Thank you for your praise, Lord Realm Spirit. May I ask, Lord Realm Spirit, is my current Dao heart not the highest realm? Of course not. Although your Dao heart is as boundless as the heavens and earth and can contain everything, it still can't reach the height of the heavenly Dao. The higher realm is Taishang emotionless, just like the heavenly Dao. Su Fong's heart moved. Taishang emotionless? This is also the realm of Taishang emotionless. When the heavenly Dao is cultivated to the extreme, it seems that it is interlinked. Realm Spirit continued. Although you passed the test of the second layer of heaven, unfortunately, the reward was taken away by the junior of the Tensei people, so I don't have anything to reward you. No reward? Su Fong was disappointed. What is the reward of the second layer of heaven? The reward that Su Fong wanted the most was naturally the heavenly Dao fruit. He was at the critical moment of breaking through to the Daozu realm. With the heavenly Dao fruit, his chances of breaking through to the Daozu realm would be greater. Realm Spirit answered, The immortal Heaven Heart Jade. The immortal Heaven Heart Jade? What does it have to do with the immortal Heaven Heart Stone? The immortal Heaven Heart Jade is the essence of the immortal Heaven Heart Stone. It is 100 times more effective than the immortal Heaven Heart Stone when used to cultivate the Dao heart. You are now only one step away from the true immortal Dao heart, and there are no shackles on your state of mind. If you have the immortal Heaven Heart Jade, you can cultivate the immortal Dao heart. Realm Spirit's words made Su Fong's heart beat rapidly. His eyes lit up. Realm Spirit said, that junior of the Tensei people made use of the Tensei people's forbidden technique and merged with the supreme Dao heart of a Daozu realm Buddha. That was how he surpassed you and passed the second layer of heaven in advance. To be fair, I will give you a chance to snatch the immortal Heaven Heart Jade from him in the third layer of heaven. However, according to the rules set by the Reizeigu people, you cannot kill him in the third layer of heaven. Su Fong was surprised and happy. Thank you, Lord Realm Spirit. You don't have to thank me. I am also following the rules of the original Luai's realm. Human cultivator, have you decided to leave the original Luai's realm or continue to the third layer of heaven? Of course I will continue. All right. I wish you good luck. A divine aura of the world surged around Su Fong and swept him away from the second layer of heaven. Whoosh! Su Fong recovered from the state of weightlessness. Then, Su Fong was surprised to find that his physical body appeared together with him this time, unlike the previous two layers of heaven. He opened his eyes. He opened his eyes and looked over. He was now on the shore of a sea of blood. The sea of blood occupied the entire space. The blood water was tumbling. An astonishing amount of vitality was rolling over. The vitality in the sea of blood contained an astonishing amount of vitality. It seeped into Su Fong's body through his skin, causing the vitality in Su Fong's body to surge uncontrollably. Even the heaven-piercing blood king Vine trembled and wanted to rush out of his body. In the sea of blood. In the sea of blood, there were 9 skulls that were at least 1,000 feet in size. They had no flesh, only bones. The skulls of the huge heads were like plazas. There is actually such an astonishing place in the original Luai's realm. I wonder what the test of the third layer of heaven will be. Could it be related to life? Su Fong was shocked and made another guess. This realm spirit's voice sounded in Su Fong's mind. The test of the third layer of heaven in the original Luai's realm is called the undying heaven. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. The undying heaven? The undying heaven was originally a sacred place for the severely injured Reizegu people to recover. Later, when the immortal realm masters created the original Luai's realm, they moved the undying heaven here. The test of the undying heaven is very simple. From this side of the sea of blood to the other side, you have to defeat the monsters that appear from the sea of blood. Let me remind you, you can only use the strength of your physical body. Also, the monsters in the sea of blood are immortal. Unless you have absolute strength to kill the monsters in one blow, they can absorb the vitality in the sea of blood to revive. Do you see the skulls in the sea of blood? You have to kill all the way to the skulls to have a short rest. Also, you can absorb the vitality in the sea of blood to recover your life. Remember, if you are swallowed by the monsters on the way, or if you're shot into the sea of blood, you will fail the test. Let's begin, human cultivator. The test of the undying heaven should be more difficult for you than the previous 2 layers of heaven. I hope you can seize this opportunity and sum up some experience. If you fail the next time, you will not have any more chances in the future. The realm spirit of the original Luai's realm was obviously partial to Su Fong. He patiently introduced the test to Su Fong. Thank you, Lord Realm Spirit. Su Fong nodded and stepped out of the sea of blood. Splash! Splash! Chapter 32:05. Hua hua hua. As soon as Fong's foot landed on the bone bridge, the blood around him immediately rolled, and bloody figures appeared. Blood they were about the same size as a normal person, but they were not made of blood. They had flesh, blood, and bones, but no skin. They looked bloody and terrifying. As soon as the bloody figures came out of the blood, they immediately jumped onto the bone bridge and blocked Su Fong's path. In a short while, the front of the bone bridge was filled with terrifying bloody figures, and more bloody figures appeared from the blood sea and jumped onto the bone bridge. I have to cross the bone bridge and reach the head as soon as possible. The longer I delay, the more monsters there will be, and it will be harder to pass. Fong looked at the bloody figures, and his scalp went numb. Those bloody figures exuded a majestic vitality, and their vitality was almost at the same level as a Taoist cultivator. With Su Fong's current strength, it was not difficult to kill these bloody figures. However, Su Fong knew very well that the third heaven, the undying heaven, was not so easy to pass. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 of the bloody figures charged at Su Fong side by side. The bone bridge was less than 3 feet wide and could only accommodate 3 bloody figures side by side. There were more bloody figures behind them. Su Fong was about to condense his thoughts to kill the bloody figures, but then he realized that he could not use his will or magic power to condense his thoughts. He could not take out his Xian Bao, and it was difficult for him to fly. So the third heaven is a test of the physical body and life, so I can't use any magic. Fong was enlightened. However, the sky-piercing Blood King vine could be used, and Su Fong was relieved. In a flash, 3 bloody figures flew over, and their bodies set off a shocking wave of blood qi, making Su Fong feel suffocated. Boom! Boom! Su Fong could only fight the bloody figures with his physical strength, although he could not use his will or magic. However, Su Fong had a perfect physical body and had gone through nirvana. After becoming a saint, his physical strength would far surpass cultivators of the same level, and even surpass most Daozu. One after a series of collisions, the bodies of the 3 bloody figures that were charging over exploded and were completely shattered. Who would have thought more and more bloody people were charging at them? Just the 3 bloody figures that had been shattered by Su Fong quickly recovered after devouring the blood energy in the blood sea around them. They appeared behind Su Fong and formed a pincer attack with the monsters in front of Su Fong. Just like what Realm Spirit said, those monsters are almost immortal. Unless one has absolute power and can kill them in one blow, they will revive with the help of the blood sea. I have to end this quickly. Su Fong did not dare to be careless. He unleashed his full strength and crushed his way through. About half an hour later, Su Fong, who was bathed in blood, finally made his way through the bloody people and stepped onto the head of the giant head. The bloody figures behind him quickly sank into the blood sea along with the bone bridge, disappearing without a trace. Tough. Those monsters are really tough. After checking the injuries on his body, Su Fong grimaced in pain. The blood on his body was from those monsters and his own. Along the way, his body was covered in wounds. There was a hideous wound from his chest all the way to his abdomen, and his intestines were almost cut open. After losing a lot of blood, coupled with the injuries on his physical body and internal organs, Su Fong had lost more than half of his blood energy, causing his life to become very weak. A kind of weakness and exhaustion that he had not felt for a long time enveloped his body and mind. Buzz! Buzz! The blood energy in Fong's body surged, and the wounds on the surface of his body quickly began to heal. Although his breath was still weak, his spirit was very hale and hearty. Although the test of the 3rd heaven is very difficult, and ordinary cultivators can't pass it, but for me, it's nothing. This test of the 1st heaven may be the easiest test, Su Fong said. Fong smiled embarrassedly, and there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. He originally had a perfect physical body, and after going through nirvana, becoming a saint and reconstructing his physical body, his life had almost reached the limit of what a human could achieve. But he still had a trump card, the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. In the undying heaven, all thoughts, divine powers, and Xian Bao could not be used. But the heaven-piercing Blood King vine had fused with Su Fong's physical body, which meant that it was a part of his physical body. Naturally, it could be used. When he fought with those bloody men just now, he did not activate the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. He just wanted to test the strength of those monsters. Whoosh! Su Fong Zheng sat there cross-legged. From the crack of the skull below him, a pure and high-level life energy suddenly surged out and quickly seeped into his body. Sha! That! Su Fong felt that the originally weak blood energy in his body began to surge, and the life energy became majestic again. And the pure blood energy also contained a kind of baptism power, which constantly cleansed Su Fong's blood energy, causing his blood energy to become even more high level. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. There are such benefits in the undying heaven. After 5 minutes, Su Fong's physical body calmed down. Yes, after sensing his body, Su Fong realized that his internal and external injuries had recovered by more than half. Ru Su Fong would not be so surprised if Guang had recovered. After fusing with the blood energy, Su Fong's blood energy had become purer and more majestic. Su Fong's physical body was so deep that it was extremely difficult to improve even a little bit. After fusing with the blood energy, it actually improved his physical body. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised again. Who? But Zhou Nuo's mocking voice came from the front. Human Ant, you are very proud now? Unfortunately, you won't be proud for long. This is just the beginning. Next, you will know how difficult it is to pass the test of the third heaven in the Luai's original realm. He looked over. On the third skull, Zhou Nuo was sitting cross-legged and recovering. His face was as pale as paper, and his breath was chaotic and weak. He looked like a corpse that had been dead for a long time. Obviously, Zhou Nuo had consumed an astonishing amount of energy to reach this step. He had already reached his limit. You must be very disappointed that I could pass the test of the second heaven, right? Su Fong retorted bluntly. Zhou Nuo sneered disdainfully. You have indeed surprised me. However, it is only a slight surprise. However, this is also good. With a stepping stone like you, it will save me from boredom. Su Yin said. Fong sneered. Stepping stone? In the second heaven, you used cheating methods to pass the test of the perplexed mind see. Let's see what other methods you have to cheat in the third heaven. Zhou Nuo snorted coldly. With my current strength, it is indeed difficult to pass the test of the third heaven, but you can forget about it too. Although the Tensei people do not cultivate their physical bodies, they're a higher race that is 10 times, no, 100 times more advanced than you humans. I am almost at the end of my rope, let alone a lowly human cultivator like you. Why don't you wait and see? Fong smiled faintly, stood up from the giant skull, and took a step into the air. From white bones immediately appeared in the sea of blood, condensing into a bone bridge that reached the giant skull thousands of feet away. Whoosh! Su Fong ran on the bone bridge with large strides. His aura was like a rainbow. Whoosh! 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 The blood in the sea of blood surged, and blood men flew out, landing on the bone bridge with waves of blood, blocking Su Fong's path. The blood chi of these blood men was even more astonishing. Compared to the blood men that Su Fong had fought before, they were 10 times stronger. Huh! The Revere blood man let out a beast-like roar and pounced towards Su Fong. Chi! Su Fong did not stop at his tracks. When he was 10 feet away from the blood man at the front, he suddenly waved his hand and rolled out a blood vine, firmly entangling the blood man. Countless blood threads seeped into the blood man's body, crazily devouring its blood chi. Wait! When Su Fong walked in front of the blood man, with a whoosh, the blood man turned into bones and scattered. Its blood chi was completely devoured. These blood men were indeed difficult to kill. In the sea of blood, they were immortal. However, the heaven-piercing Blood King vine directly sucked the blood man's blood chi, and naturally, it could not be resurrected. Roar! 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 Hundreds of blood men rushed towards Su Fong. Chi! 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 Blood vines waved out from Su Fong's body, making him look like a tentacle monster. Every single one of them. A blood vine wrapped around a blood man, wantonly devouring their blood chi. Su Fong walked forward with large strides, and the blood men were shattered one after another, their bones falling into the sea of blood. Although more and more blood men kept appearing from the sea of blood, they could not stop Su Fong's pace. In less than half an hour, Su Fong walked across the bone bridge and arrived on the second head floating in the sea of blood. Not only was he not injured, but the blood chi that he lost earlier was replenished, making him return to his peak state. Heaven-piercing Blood King vine? Damn it! How could I forget about the heaven-piercing Blood King vine? Cheating, you are cheating. Nuo was surprised and shocked at first, but soon after, he shouted loudly in dissatisfaction. Su Fong sneered and said, Cheating? My heaven-piercing Blood King vine was cultivated from the heaven-piercing Blood King vine seed and merged with my body. It is also my body's ability. How can it be considered cheating? At this time, Realm Spirit's voice sounded. You have merged with the heaven-piercing Blood King vine, so it is naturally your ability. It is not considered cheating. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine restrains the blood chi of life. The Undying Heavens test is not difficult for you. I take back what I said to you before. The previous Realm Spirit thought that to Su Fong, the third heavens test was more difficult than the previous 2 heavens. Now he had to admit that he was wrong. Not only could Su Fong pass the third heavens test smoothly, but it was also easy. Realm Spirit's words made Zhou Nua gnash his teeth. He thought that he was a higher life form and looked down on Su Fong, high and mighty. He did not expect to be inferior to Su Fong in the third heaven. He would definitely be surpassed by Su Fong. Naturally, he was unconvinced. Not only do I want to surpass you, but I also want to take the immortal heaven heart jade that originally belonged to me. Su Fong looked at Zhou Nua and said in a voice filled with killing intent, "An ant-like existence dares to vainly attempt to snatch my treasures? Although I cannot pass the third heaven, you want to snatch my immortal heaven heart jade? Wishful thinking." Chapter 3206. Zhou Nua knew very well that it would be difficult for him to pass the test with his current strength, because if he did not want the immortal heaven heart jade to fall into Su Fong's hands, he could only choose to fail and leave the Thunder Lake original realm. You want to leave? It's not that easy. Leave the immortal heaven heart stone before you leave. Su Fong sneered and waved his right arm. Whoosh! Su Fong's entire right arm transformed into a blood vine and extended out like a blood python. It pierced through the layers of shackles, crossed the blood sea, and firmly wrapped around Zhou Nua. Although Zhou Nua was not as strong as Su Fong, he was not that weak. However, in the undying heaven, Zhou Nua had a powerful ability and a peerless Xin Bao, but he could not use it now. How could he be a match for the heaven-piercing Blood King vine with just his physical body? Whoosh! Whoosh! From the blood sea, a white bone arm reached out and grabbed the blood vine, trying to tear it apart. Su Fong's heaven-piercing Blood King vine had merged with the primordial energy and became as tough as the primal chaos godlock chain. The white bone arm could not tear it apart in a short time. The other end of the blood vine penetrated Zhou Nua's body and began to devour his blood energy. Take the immortal heaven heart stone. Zhou Nua was shocked and had no choice but to take out the immortal heaven heart stone. He extended a branch from the blood vine and wrapped it around the immortal heaven heart stone. Su Fong said coldly, "Just the immortal heaven heart stone is not enough. I want you to swear that after leaving the Thunder Lake original realm, you will not enter the human world and will not threaten me with the human race." Zhou Nua gritted his teeth and said, "Human ant, are you threatening me? Do you know what will happen to you if you do this?" Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and urged the heaven-piercing Blood King vine to devour again. "Stop! I swear that I will not enter the human world and threaten you with the human race. Otherwise, I will be punished by the heavens." Zhou Nua's aura instantly weakened. Seeing that his life was in danger, he had no choice but to swear. Su Fongda shouted, "Lord Realm Spirit, please be my witness." Realm Spirit's cold voice sounded, "Fighting for the Leisha origin realm should be a fair competition. If you rely on your own strength to win, what qualifications do you have to become the ruler of the Leisha origin realm? Remember, no matter who it is, if you attack anyone outside the Leisha original realm, I will not let you off easily once you enter the Leisha original realm." Only then did Su Fong calm down and release Zhou Nua. Then, he urged the blood vine to wrap around the immortal heaven heart stone and quickly pulled it back. After absorbing the immortal heaven heart stone into his body, Su Fong was overjoyed. "Human ant, just you wait. I'll surely catch up to you 1,000,000 years from now, and if I have the chance, I'll surely kill you." Nua coldly shouted, then stepped out of the skull and onto the bone bridge. The outcome was as expected. Zhou Nua persisted on the bone bridge for less than 10 breaths of time before he was blasted flying by the blood figure, and he fell into the sea of blood before vanishing without a trace. Tensei people are nothing more than this. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and sat down cross-legged on the skull to accept the baptism of blood energy. After half an hour, Su Fong merged with the pure, high-grade blood energy. He felt that his body and blood energy had become stronger again, and he was overjoyed. "This time, I'm going to charge through the third heaven and enter the fourth heaven in one go." Su Fong looked at the other side of the sea of blood, and his eyes flashed with a bright light. Then, he went straight for the third head. This time, Su Fong encountered more blood figures, and they were even stronger. However, he had the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. No matter how strong those blood figures were, they couldn't stop him. He was invincible along the way. Just like that, Su Fong relied on the heaven-piercing Blood King vine to successfully cross the bone bridge and step on the heads one by one. Finally, he arrived on the 9th head. After merging with the pure blood energy from the skull below him, Su Fong's life energy surged wildly, turning into the flames of life that burned fiercely. First, layers of impurities seeped out of his body, and they were incomparably smelly. They were like the impurities expelled from the body after a breakthrough. After 6 hours, his body finally calmed down. Su Fong felt as if he had been reborn. He separated his consciousness and sensed inside his body. He found that the life energy in his body had become incomparably majestic. Every cell could be said to be perfect, containing an astonishing amount of life essence. Every strand of hair was flickering with a bright light. Human cultivator, congratulations. Not only did you pass the test of 2 heavens consecutively, but you also passed the test of the undying heaven. Your life energy has already surpassed the limit of the human race. Realm Spirit's figure appeared in front of Su Fong, and he nodded at Su Fong. This time, it's purely luck. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly, but he felt somewhat ashamed in his heart. Indeed, it was indeed luck. If it wasn't for the heaven-piercing Blood King vine, how could it be so easy to pass the test of the 3rd heaven? Realm Spirit continued. You have the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. This is your ability. It's not luck. Moreover, luck itself is a part of a cultivator's strength. Then, Realm Spirit waved his hand, and a divine aura rolled out, enveloping Su Fong. Follow me. Su Fong's body was uncontrollable. He traveled through space and appeared in a real world. The spiritual energy and heavenly laws in this world were comparable to that of the God realm in a low-level universe. However, compared to the Pansong universe, it was much more powerful. The spiritual energy was incomparably pure and abundant. It was like a holy land for cultivation. Su Fong thought in his heart, if a catastrophe occurs in the human world, I can move all the lives in the Pansong universe to the Luai's original realm. Even if I die in the future, they will continue to live in the Luai's original realm. Realm Spirit waved his hand and grabbed a piece of Xianguang. He said to Su Fong, Human cultivator, you have passed the test of the 3rd heaven. You will receive the corresponding reward. There are a total of 3 different treasures. You can only choose one. Su Fong fixed his eyes on it. World Ji, now this piece of Xianguang contained the will of the Luai's original realm. Even with Su Fong's strength, it was difficult for him to see what kind of treasure was enveloping the Xianguang. He could only vaguely see an outline. Su Fong smiled bitterly and said, Lord Realm Spirit, I don't even know what the treasure is. How can I make a choice? That will depend on your luck. Luck itself is one of the tests of the Luai's original realm. Realm Spirit chuckled. Luck? Although Su Fong's luck has always been good, I believe in my own judgment more. Fong used the heavenly prying eye and looked at the piece of Xianguang with rapt attention. Not as expected, Su Fonda was disappointed. Even the heavenly prying eye could not see what kind of treasure was inside. Realm Spirit smiled and said, Your ability is not bad. However, your strength is still too weak. Solution? Su Fong smiled faintly. However, then, he used the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique and the Heavenly Secret solution to deduce the Heavenly Secret and fate. Then, with guidance, he grabbed one of the 3 treasures inside the Xianguang. It was a 1-foot square wooden box. It was ancient and vicissitudes of life. He did not know what kind of treasure was inside. Realm Spirit said in surprise, It seems like your luck is not bad. The treasure you chose is exactly what you need. Su Fong opened the wooden box. A fresh and mysterious great Dao aura spread out from the box. Just by smelling some of the overflowing aura, Su Fong had a sudden epiphany about some of the questions he had regarding cultivation. Su Fong's heart pounded when he saw the fist-sized fruit sealed in the wooden box. It was surging with lightning. Realm Spirit said, "It's a supreme treasure that only the Reizegu people have, the Luai's Dao fruit. It's also called the Heavenly Dao fruit." "This is the Luai's Dao fruit?" Su Fong was surprised and delighted. He was preparing to advance to the Daozu level. The Luai's Dao fruit was a supreme treasure for advancing to the Daozu level. Now that the Dao fruit was in his hands, how could he not be excited? Then, coupled with the immortal Heaven Heart Jade he had snatched from Zhou Nuo, his physical body and Dao heart had transformed. This time, he was almost certain to advance to the Daozu level. Realm Spirit smiled embarrassedly and said, "3 treasures. One is a peerless ability of the Reizega people, one is a pill that surpasses the king grade, and one is the Luai's Dao fruit. Although the other 2 are precious, they're not very useful to you now. The Luai's Dao fruit is the most useful to you. You actually chose this treasure. If this is not luck, then what is?" Su Fong happily put away the Luai's Dao palace and chuckled. Of course, this was not luck. It was the result of deduction using the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly divination mystic solution. Realm Spirit continued, "Human cultivator, when you first entered the Luai's original realm, I determined that the possibility of you passing the 9 heavens test was less than 10%. Now, it seems that not only do you have the ability, you also have supreme luck. I estimate that you have at least a 40% chance of passing the 9 heavens test and becoming the master of the Luai's original realm." Realm Spirit's evaluation made Fong very happy. Realm Spirit asked, "Human cultivator, you have passed 2 heavens in a row. Do you want to continue to the 4th heavens?" Yes, of course. This was a rare opportunity. Even if he failed, he would be able to find out what the 4th heavens test was and make preparations after leaving the Luai's original realm. Su Fong naturally would not miss this opportunity. With your strength, it is impossible for you to pass the 4th heavens. However, it is good for you to try now. I estimate that after you pass the 4th heavens test and leave the Luai's original realm, you will be able to successfully become a Daozu. It will be greatly beneficial to your future achievements. Why is that? You will know in a while. Realm Spirit kept Su Fong in suspense. After chuckling, he moved Su Fong's original body into an independent space-time. Just as Su Fong entered the 4th heavens, Zhou Nuo was also moved out of the Luai's original realm. He escaped from the lightning and landed on the spell altar where he left. Congratulations to young King Zhou Nuo for your successful return. Young King Zhou is mighty. The fact that Zhou Nuo was able to return alive from the Luai's original realm proved that he had successfully passed the 2nd heavens test. The many Tensei people who had been waiting around the spell altar, led by Zhou Nuo's father, bowed to Zhou Nuo and congratulated him loudly. Zhou Nuo's father flew to the spell altar and said to Zhou Nuo with a smile, "You are indeed my son. The Reizegu people's test is nothing to you." Zhou Nuo was chased out of the Luai's original realm by Su Fong and lost the immortal Heaven Heart Jade. Naturally, he was not in a good mood and vented his anger on his father. He snorted and said, "You are not so happy for me. You are happy for yourself because you have retained your wealth, right?" Zhou Nuo's father smiled embarrassedly. "How can I be such a person?" Chapter 32:07. Greetings, 7th forefather. Zhou Nuo and his father hurriedly saluted. After, the 7th forefather of the Tensei people was an undying existence that surpassed the Daozu. If it wasn't for Zhou Nuo, how could he be qualified to meet such a person? Zhou Nuo, you really didn't disappoint me. The 7th forefather of the Tensei people stroked his beard and nodded at Zhou Nuo. Zhou Nuo said regretfully, "It's a pity that I couldn't pass the test of the 3rd heaven." The 7th forefather asked, "What's the test of the 3rd heaven of the Luai's original realm?" "Physical body." Zhou Nuo answered truthfully. "The test of physical body is much easier than the test of the 2nd heaven." The 7th forefather relaxed and smiled embarrassedly. "The cultivators of my race don't prioritize the physical body. However, with the resources of my race, Why worry about not being able to strengthen your physical body? As for time, haha, my race has mastered the supreme great Tao of time. Time is not a problem. Zhou Nua's expression was still gloomy. A human cultivator actually entered the Luai's original realm. Moreover, he has the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. Therefore, the test of the third heaven is not difficult for him. I estimate that he can pass the test of the third heaven this time. The seventh forefather of the Ian clan raised his eyebrows. A human cultivator? Zhou Nua narrated the matter in detail. Heaven, the seventh forefather of the Ian clan, smiled indifferently and didn't take it to heart. An ant-like cultivator of a low-level race wants to compete with the Tensei people for the inheritance of the Reizega people, destroy the human cultivator and the entire human world. Naturally, there won't be any future troubles. Zhou Nua stopped him. How much of a threat can a mere ant of the human race pose to this disciple? If I can't even surpass that human cultivator, how can I reach the peak? There's no need for the clan to do anything. This disciple will definitely be able to kill him in the later tests. The seventh forefather of the Tensei people nodded. As expected of a genius junior of my race. You have such courage. You should rest for a while. I will arrange for the experts of my race to help you cultivate. After 1,000,000 years, you can pass the test of the third heaven of the Luai's original realm. Thank you, seventh forefather. Nua cupped his fists and bowed. The seventh patriarch of the Tensei people turned into nothingness. Zhou Nua recovered his high and mighty attitude from before and left in embarrassment. Only Zhou Nua's father was left on the altar. With Zhou Nua's character, as long as someone threatens his interests, he will not hesitate to use any means to get rid of the enemy. How could he let that human cultivator off so easily this time? How could he not be clear about Zhou Nua's character? One after pondering for a while, Zhou Nua's father's eyes flashed with fierce killing intent. In order to curry favor with the seventh ancestor, Zhou Nua unnaturally doesn't want the clan to personally kill the human cultivator. Since that's the case, I'll help him get rid of that person. It can be considered as helping Zhou Nua obtain the Thunder Lake original realm. When the time comes, I'll definitely be rewarded. Although I don't know the identity and appearance of that human cultivator, since he possesses the heaven-piercing Blood King Rot Tan, it shouldn't be difficult to find out who he is. After thinking for a while, Zhou Nua's father shouted at one of his subordinates, "Have Daozu from a human world come and see this king immediately." Whoosh! Su Fang's figure appeared in an independent space-time. He focused his gaze. One immediately, the sky was empty, as if he had entered a chaotic space where there was nothing. In the space-time, there were 9 lotus-shaped floating platforms with different colors. They were arranged in a row in front of Su Fang all the way to the top. The last altar floated at the highest point of the space-time. The test of the fourth heaven should only have 9 stages. I don't know what the test is about. That realm spirit seems so mysterious. Su Fang was secretly vigilant and didn't dare to be careless. Being able to successfully pass 2 tests in a row was more or less due to luck. The next test of the fourth heaven obviously wouldn't be so lucky. Su Fang didn't expect to pass this test in one go. However, he had to figure out the trick and prepare for the next test. The realm spirit's voice sounded. The fourth heaven is called 9 Lotus Ascension to Heaven. It tests one's control of the great Tao and the use of one's strength. Every Lotus platform will condense an opponent to fight with you according to your strength and the great Tao you cultivate. If you defeat your opponent and pass 9 Lotus platforms, you can pass the fourth heaven. Su Fang said, "So it's a test of strength." The realm spirit quickly denied. It's not just strength. At the same time, it's also a chance for you. As for how much chance you can get, it depends on your own foundation and your ability. Let's begin. I hope you can gain something this time. The next time you come to the fourth heaven, you can pass it in one go. The realm spirit obviously didn't think that Su Fang could pass the test of the fourth heaven, so he didn't reveal too much information about the fourth heaven. Su Fang leaped onto the first Lotus platform and entered an empty space. He was a little nervous. Then, Su Fang realized that he couldn't use his Xian Bao, his physical body, the heaven-piercing Blood King vine, and the strength of his subordinates. They were all sealed by an invisible force. Who knew? Su Fong waited for half an hour, but no opponent appeared. He couldn't help but feel surprised and shocked. Strange. It's really strange. Human kid, let me see what kind of great Tao you cultivate. Why does the Thunder Lake original realm need to use the origin power to condense an opponent for you? The realm spirit's voice was full of surprise. Then, he appeared in front of Su Fong. Su Fong used the Joshuan Limitless Sutra Heart Sutra. A wave of primordial aura gushed out from the Tao Palace. The realm spirit was enlightened. I see. I didn't expect that a human cultivator like you would cultivate the supreme heavenly Tao. You can trace the heavenly Tao's true essence and origin. No wonder you need to use the origin power of the Thunder Lake original realm to create an opponent for you. The opponent in the fourth heaven was created based on the strength and great Tao of the person being tested. For example, if one cultivated the great Tao of Earth, they would automatically use the power of Earth and Taoist rhymes to create an opponent to fight with the person being tested. But the Thunder Lake original realm, created by the experts of the Reizega people, was so wonderful. At the same time, it also showed how powerful the Reizega people were. They had mastered various great Taos and thousands of Taos. Who knew that he would encounter Su Fong, the challenger who cultivated the Joshuan Limitless Sutra, which was the supreme heavenly Tao. Moreover, he had mastered the primordial aura. Naturally, the opponent he created would need to use the origin power. This time, the Thunder Lake original realm will suffer a great loss. You, human kid, have picked up a great bargain. However, it will be more difficult for you to pass than that Tensei people kid. Kid, I wish you good luck. The realm spirit raised his eyebrows and left embarrassedly. Picked up a bargain? Su Fong was confused. He didn't understand, but he felt that it was awesome. About half an hour later, a divine light flashed in front of him. A wave of chaotic aura gushed out. It was the primordial aura that Su Fong was familiar with. After the primordial aura surged, it quickly transformed into a human-shaped shadow. Its facial features were a little blurry. It looked a little similar to Su Fong. It didn't have any aura of life. From the energy waves, one could tell that its cultivation was at the peak of the upper divine saint realm. As soon as the shadow appeared, it immediately charged towards Su Fong. Break! Su Fong pointed his finger at the shadow. It turned into a chaotic light wheel. It quickly extended and turned into the primordial heavenly wheel. Boom! After an earth-shattering collision, the shadow was shattered. The surrounding space-time also began to collapse and turn into nothingness. Su Fong reappeared on the first Lotus platform. So easy? Su Fong thought that there would be a fierce battle. He didn't expect to kill his first opponent so easily and pass the first stage. Just as Su Fong was about to fly toward the second Lotus platform, a wave of primordial aura suddenly gushed out from the surroundings. It instantly seeped into the Tao Palace. Over there! The wave of primordial aura merged with the primordial aura in Su Fong's Tao Palace, causing Su Fong's primordial aura to become purer and more majestic. It also caused Su Fong's Tao Palace to begin to change. It caused Su Fong's Tao Palace to begin to boil. The entire Tao Palace was filled with an aura of origin. No wonder the realm spirit said that the fourth heaven was a test and also a fortune. It turns out that killing the opponent can obtain the opponent's energy. Since I control the primordial aura, the opponent in the Luai's original realm is also condensed from the primordial aura. After killing the opponent, I will obtain this aura of origin. Su Fong was shocked. Fong was pleasantly surprised. This was an unexpected gain. Wait, the Tao Palace calmed down. Su Fong sensed it and found that not only had the primordial aura in the Tao Palace become more shocking, but his cultivation had also improved by a lot. He seemed to have gained some more vague insights. Su Fong leaped onto the second Lotus platform. This time, he didn't have to wait long. As soon as he entered the space of the second Lotus platform, a wave of primordial aura gushed out and quickly condensed into a human figure. It was exactly the same as the opponent in the first stage, but in reality, it was very different. Its aura was 10 times more powerful than the first stage. Su Fong pulled himself together and used the shapeless heavenly wheels. He used the primordial aura to fight with the opponent and used 6 hours to kill him. The energy absorbed this time caused Su Fong's Dao Palace to undergo another shocking change. Su Fong's Dao Palace and the insides of his physical body began to stir. There were signs that he was about to become a Daozu. Su Fong's losses were also shocking. After passing 2 stages in the 4th heaven, the amount of primordial aura I obtained is equivalent to 1,000,000 years of cultivation and countless resources. Fortune. This is indeed a great fortune. Su Fong's eyes became incomparably hale and hearty. He directly stepped onto the 3rd lotus platform. The opponent this time wasn't as easy. Su Fong finally used all his skills and used my master's 10 direction seal to kill him. The 4th lotus platform is probably my limit, but I have to try no matter what. Su Fong stepped onto the 4th lotus platform. This time, it was still an opponent of the same height. However, the attack contained the true meaning of the laws of the origin of the great Tao. It was like an unstoppable torrent. The boundary created by Su Fong's master's 10 direction seal, was instantly destroyed. It couldn't even withstand a single blow. He became so much stronger all of a sudden. Su Fong was shocked and surprised. Before he was engulfed by the terrifying attack, a divine power wrapped around Su Fong and moved him out of the 4th heaven. Chapter 3208. After Su Fong failed the 9 lotus ascension in the 4th heaven, he was teleported to the inner space of the 3rd heaven. Realm Spirit's figure appeared and looked at Su Fong. Human cultivator, you passed the 3rd heaven by sheer luck. Now you know how difficult the Luai's original realms test is, right? Impressive indeed. Su Fong nodded. Fong had to admit that the 4th heaven's test was far beyond his expectations. He was confident that with his strength, he could kill an ordinary Daozu even without the help of Xianbao or other external forces. He could not find an opponent below the Daozu. He could just crush them. Thinking, the opponents he met before reaching the 4th heaven were also at the peak of the upper Dao Saint level, but their strength was so shocking. They surpassed all the human and foreign Dao Saints he had met, including the Daozu. Realm. The opponents he met on the 4th lotus platform were already so powerful. The ones after that would be even more shocking and completely exceed his limits. Realm Spirit raised his white eyebrows and snorted. The difficulty is indeed high. It is wishful thinking to become the master of the Luai's original realm without the ability to defy the heavens. The Luai's original realm would not set a test that cannot be passed. Your cultivation is still not enough. Please enlighten me, Lord Realm Spirit. Su Fong said. Fong cupped his fist politely to Realm Spirit. Realm Spirit stroked his white beard and nodded. This king has spent countless years in the Thunder Lock Origin Realm. I also hope that the Thunder Lock Origin Realm can find a master as soon as possible. Then, this king will no longer be lonely. Now that 2 people have come, and you are much more pleasing to the eye than that arrogant brat from the Eternal Clan, there is no harm in giving you some pointers within the rules. Fong was overjoyed. Thank you, Lord Realm Spirit. Realm Spirit said slowly, your Dao heart, cultivation level, and strength are also quite extraordinary compared to the Reizega people. However, you are still a human. Your knowledge is too shallow. You are like a beggar guarding a mountain of gold. Su Fong touched the tip of his nose. Do you think I am wrong? I do not dare. Please continue, Lord Realm Spirit. Spirit snorted and continued. You're at a very high level of cultivation, but you have the Tao, but no Dharma. Su Fong frowned. There is Tao, but there is no Dharma? You cultivate the supreme heavenly Tao. Therefore, you have unlimited possibilities and unlimited potential. You possess supreme strength. However, you have only scratched the surface. Don't be unconvinced. Let me ask you, where did your divine abilities come from? They all came from other inheritances and did not come from your great Tao. Thus, their power is limited, and it is even more difficult for you to bring out your strength to the limit. Remember, You are the heavenly Tao, and the heavenly Tao is you. The heavenly Tao encompasses everything. So why should you be restricted by your predecessors? In fact, you don't have to adhere to the heavenly Tao. So long as you grasp the profundities of the heaven Tao, you'll be able to deduce a myriad of techniques and establish a myriad of laws, and it'll be a peerless, great divine ability at your fingertips. As for those divine abilities you've mastered before, forget them all. I can only say so much to you. You'll have to slowly comprehend them yourself. Perhaps during the great calamity of the Daozu, you'll be able to comprehend them when you're undergoing the baptism of the source of the Tao in the gate of the source of the Tao. You'll only be able to pass the test of the fourth heaven if you fully comprehend them. If you don't, you'll naturally die in the fourth heaven. Even if you advance to the Daozu, it'll still be difficult for you to pass. Go. I'll see your performance again 1,000,000 years later. Don't make me waste my breath on you for nothing. Realm Spirit waved his hand, and a thunderbolt surged out from Su Fang's surroundings with a boom. It wrapped around him, and he disappeared from the original realm of the Thunder Lake without trace. Swish, 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 swish. Suddenly, there was a thunderous sound, and a gate of heaven condensed from thunderbolts appeared out of thin air. Then, Su Fang's figure rolled out from the gate of heaven. Then, the gate of heaven quickly turned from solid to nothingness and disappeared from the chaos. Sua divine aura surged out from Su Fang's body, and he stabilized his body. Then he sat down cross-legged in the chaos. Sigh. He pondered over Realm Spirit's words and vaguely understood something, but he couldn't grasp it. Swish. However, Su Fang suddenly sensed something in his heart. I'll break through to the Daozu first, then think about the fourth heaven of the Thunder Lake original realm. Su Fang looked up, his eyes filled with anticipation, as well as incomparable persistence and determination. It turned out that he suddenly sensed a message from the unseen world. His Daozu tribulation would descend in a few years. He was about to advance to the Daozu. His Dao heart and realm had long been sufficient. In the original realm of the Thunder Lake, the accumulation of energy in his physical body and Dao palace had also reached the limit of a Dao saint. Water overflowed. As soon as he left the original realm of the Thunder Lake, he was sensed by the heavenly Dao. Naturally, the great Daozu tribulation would descend. Su Fang waved his hand and took out a wooden box. From it, he rolled out a fruit flickering with thunderbolts. The heavenly Dao fruit. Su Fang's eyes revealed hesitation. The heavenly Dao fruit was incomparably precious. This heavenly Dao fruit could nurture a Daozu powerhouse. But Su Fang was confident that the Daozu tribulation wouldn't be able to do anything to him. In this way, the heavenly Dao fruit would be wasted. Just as he was about to put away the heavenly Dao fruit, the longevity lamp suddenly transmitted a message. Master, I suggest you fuse with the heavenly Dao fruit. Su Fang asked in surprise. Why? Don't you have confidence in me passing the tribulation? Master, don't underestimate the Daozu tribulation. Once you advance to the Daozu tribulation, it's equivalent to touching upon the most fundamental essence of the great Dao. How can the heavenly tribulation be underestimated? Master, think about it. The human race has many peak Dao saints, but the number of Daozu powerhouses can be counted on one hand. Most of them perish in the tribulation. This shows how powerful the Daozu tribulation is. Besides, Master cultivates the heavenly Dao. The Daozu tribulation will definitely be 10 times or 100 times more powerful than other cultivators. Also, the heavenly Dao fruit will be of great benefit to Master. It will even affect Master's future achievements. The words of the longevity lamp, original spirit, made Su Fang's expression turn grave. Can't the heavenly Dao fruit help cultivators reach peak Dao saint and resolve the Daozu tribulation? It seems Master still doesn't understand the power of the heavenly Dao fruit. No wonder, Master, you're a human and have never heard of it before. Even many powerhouses of other races don't know the use of the heavenly Dao fruit. Why don't you tell me about it? The Daozu tribulation is different from other tribulations. When the tribulation descends, the gate of the Tao source will appear. You must shatter the heavenly tribulation and blast open the gate of the Tao source to receive the baptism of the heavenly Tao. Of course, I know about the gate of the Tao source and the baptism of the Tao source, but what does this have to do with the heavenly Tao fruit? When a cultivator enters the Daozu realm, they can touch upon the source of the heavenly Tao and come into contact with the true essence of cultivation. Cross. The Daozu tribulation requires one to withstand the heavenly tribulation, break the barrier, receive the baptism of the Tao source, and ascend. The so-called gate of the Tao source was the barrier to entering the heavenly Tao's origin. The heavenly Tao fruit's use is not only to help master resist the heavenly tribulation, but also to absorb more of the Tao source's aura and comprehend more of the heavenly Tao's true essence. I see. I didn't expect the heavenly Tao fruit to have such a heaven-defying use. If it weren't for your reminder, I would have missed a great opportunity. Su Fong was surprised and delighted by the spirit's words. Elder, the original soul of the life lamp, continued, I don't know how many gates of the origin of the Tao will descend in Master's Tao ancestor tribulation. How many gates of the Tao source? I've asked Dongxuan's master before. Isn't the Daozu tribulation usually a gate of the Tao source? That's because the Tao foundation of you human cultivators is too shallow. I heard the former master say once that 8 gates of the Tao source appeared when he was transcending the Daozu tribulation. Therefore, the baptism of the Tao source he received was extremely shocking. When he had just ascended to the Daozu realm, he could kill the Daozu realm's pinnacle. Later, he successfully surpassed the Daozu realm and became an eternal existence. Master cultivates the heavenly Tao, so he has at least 3 gates of the Tao source, surpassing other human cultivators. 3 gates of the Tao source. That's a lot more than other human Daozu realms. I hope so. Su Fong was also filled with anticipation as to how many gates of the Tao source would appear. Swoosh! A blood vine flashed out of Su Fong's body and sucked the heavenly Tao fruit into his body, then seeped into the Tao fruit. First, a pure and majestic aura instantly spread throughout his body and poured into the Tao palace. The energy he had consumed in the Thunder Lake original realm was recovering at an astonishing speed. It wouldn't take long for him to return to his peak state. But at this moment, the ethereal heavenly Tao became incomparably clear, making Su Fong feel as if his entire being had merged with the heavenly Tao. But Su Fong closed his eyes and quietly waited for the arrival of the Daozu tribulation. Short, for the next few years, he didn't need to cultivate anything. He only needed to adjust his Tao heart to a calm state. About 5 years, an astonishing pressure suddenly appeared above Su Fong. Everything in the surroundings seemed to have solidified. Original, the chaos, which was originally empty, was like a mirror that was covered in layers of mist. Suddenly, the mist was pushed away by an invisible hand. Startled, the tribulation cloud surged out, taking the shape of a funnel. One end of the funnel was aimed at Su Fong, like a monster opening its mouth towards Su Fong. The other end of the funnel led to the depths of the endless chaos, leading straight to the ethereal source of the heavenly Tao. Boom! Rumble! Whoosh! Whoosh! The dull sound of thunder came from the tribulation cloud. There was also the howling of wild winds and the sound of burning flames, causing Su Fong's Tao heart to tremble. Through the tribulation lightning, tribulation fire, and tribulation wind, one could vaguely make out a crimson door within the funnel-shaped tribulation cloud. It exuded an ancient aura of the great Tao, as if it was a door that led to the highest depths of the heavenly Tao. Behind it hid the infinite mysteries of the heavenly Tao. Once I break through that door, I will be the supreme Daozu, Su Fong shouted. His eyes flashed with a hearty light. He withstood the pressure and flew toward the tribulation cloud. The pressure was truly astonishing. It contained the supreme will of the heavenly Tao. The closer one got to the tribulation cloud, the more shocking the pressure was. Ordinary Tao saints wouldn't even be able to enter the tribulation cloud before their will crumbled and their Tao heart shattered. However, for Su Fong, he was only shackled, and the effect was not that great. Chapter 3209. Whoosh, a splendidly decorated treasured ship flew out, stirring up a primal chaos turbulence. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of Tensei people flew out from the treasured ship, led by a middle-aged man with a golden crown on his head. He was Zhou Nua's father. Everyone, many Tensei people looked into the distance, and a spiral tribulation cloud appeared in their eyes. It was the scene of Su Fong's tribulation. Zhou Nua's father clicked his tongue. What a coincidence! Someone is actually undergoing the Daozu tribulation in the depths of the primal chaos. Looking at the scale and aura of the tribulation cloud, this person will definitely be a powerful Daozu once he succeeds. If young Prince Zhou Nua is undergoing the Daozu tribulation, his reputation will be 1,000 times greater than this. The person who spoke was an old man from the human race behind Zhou Nua's father. He had a flattering smile on his face, and his tone was full of flattery. This old man's cultivation was astonishing. He was a Daozu expert. There were very few Tao ancestors among the cultivators of the human clan, and all of them were peerless powerhouses who were awe-inspiring. This old man was no exception. He was the Tao ancestor of the Li clan, one of the 5 great divine clans of the central profound divine realm. However, the 5 great clans had submitted to the Tensei people and became the vassal forces of the Tensei people. The great Daozu expert had to put down his former dignity and was like a dog wagging its tail. My son, Zhou Nua, is a peerless expert who will achieve eternal immortality in the future. How can his tribulation be compared to an ordinary one? Zhou Nua's father smiled proudly. Li Clan Daozu nodded repeatedly. Of course. Zhou Nua's father turned to a Tensei people expert beside him and said, since we've encountered this, it's the fortune of the cultivator undergoing the tribulation. I'll have to trouble Lord Zeus. If that cultivator succeeds, take him as a gift for my son's successful return from the Luai's original realm. Yes, Duke. The Tensei people expert nodded in agreement. Here this man looked to be in his early 40s. His face was sallow, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. His aura was much stronger than that of the Li clan's Daozu. He was also a Daozu expert. Although he was not at the peak, he was still a powerful Daozu. You Father Nua continued, let's go. That human ant named Su Fong must have returned to the human world from the Luai's original realm. We have to hurry up and get rid of him. The purpose of their trip was precisely to go to Su Fong. Zhou Nua had encountered Su Fong in the Luai's original realm. Although he didn't know Su Fong's identity, there was no other human cultivator besides Su Fong who possessed the heaven-piercing Blood King Ratan. Yunua's father quickly figured out Su Fong's identity among the 5 divine clans. Without hesitation, he led the Tensei people to the human world. However, he never would have thought that the person he was looking for was currently undergoing the Daozu tribulation. Yunua's father led the Tensei people into the space inside the treasure ship. Then, the treasure ship broke through the shackles and sailed into the chaos, disappearing without a trace. The middle-aged Tensei people named Zeus stayed behind and stared at the tribulation clouds in the distance. He was waiting for the tribulation to end so that he could go over and suppress that person directly. Crack! Whoosh! 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 As soon as Su Fong stepped into the tribulation clouds, streaks of tribulation lightning that were as thick as an arm and exuded a terrifying aura of destruction shot out from the surrounding tribulation clouds, intending to kill Su Fong. There was also a monstrous tribulation fire that enveloped Su Fong in an instant, intending to incinerate everything in Su Fong. In addition to the tribulation lightning and tribulation fire, there was also a terrifying tribulation wind that was as sharp as a knife and as fine as a needle. The tribulation lightning, tribulation fire, and tribulation wind didn't just attack the physical body. They also attacked the Tao Palace, the Tao Heart, and the Origin Soul. From the looks of it, they wouldn't stop until Su Fong was killed. It's just an ordinary Daozu's heavenly tribulation. How can it do anything to Su Fong? Su Fong displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord. He released his thoughts and condensed a heavenly wheel. The aggressive heavenly tribulation was shattered before it could come within 100 feet of Su Fong. Su Fong was only one level away from attaining the Tao Heart. With the longevity, celestial body, his soul was immortal and indestructible. The will and soul attacks contained in the three tribulations couldn't shake Su Fong's Tao Heart and soul in the slightest. In the surging tide of the three tribulations, Su Fong advanced towards the gate of the source of the Tao. Although the tribulation couldn't hurt him at all, it was still extremely difficult for him to get close to the gate of the Tao. After about an hour, Su Fong finally reached the gate of the source of the Tao. The Crimson Gate was 100 feet tall and more than 10 feet wide. The gate was covered with mysterious and abstruse divine runes, and an ancient aura of the great Tao rushed out. Behind the gate is the supreme origin of the great Tao. After receiving the baptism of the origin of the great Tao, I will be a peerless Daozu from now on. The Daozu tribulation seemed so dangerous, but it was actually very easy for Su Fong, which surprised Su Fong Da. Crack, crack, boom, rumble. The tribulation lightning, tribulation fire, and tribulation wind became even more ferocious. It seemed that they were going to make a last stand before Su Fong opened the gate of the source of the Tao. They were going to blast Su Fong to death outside the gate of the source of the Tao. Gate of the source of the Tao, open. Su Fong let out a domineering roar, gathered his physical strength, and punched the Crimson Gate. Boom! Rumble! The gate slowly opened, and a dazzling golden light radiated from inside the gate. The heavenly tribulation behind Su Fong instantly stopped rolling. Gold! The light dissipated immediately, and Su Fong opened his eyes. It was beyond Su Fong's expectations, but he had expected that the gate of the source of the Tao would not be the source of the great Tao. There were still terrifying tribulation clouds around him, and the aura was several times more astonishing than before. Thunder surged, tribulation fire blazed, and tribulation wind whistled. In the depths of the tribulation clouds, there was another gate of the source of the Tao. However, it was not red, but orange, and the aura of the great Tao was even more astonishing. The second gate of the source of the Tao, the longevity lamp original spirit's guess was right. I cultivate the supreme heavenly Tao. There is more than one gate of the source of the Tao that appeared in the Daozu tribulation. Su Fong's eyes flashed with a hale and hearty divine light, and he once again charged into the depths of the tribulation clouds. The Tensei people Daozu expert named Zeus saw the golden light radiating from the tribulation clouds from afar, and knew that Su Fong had blasted open the gate of the source of the Tao. Therefore, he did not wait any longer and teleported over. He passed through the Daozu tribulation so easily. This person is indeed not an ordinary Daozu. The gate of the source of the Tao has already been opened, but why hasn't the tribulation clouds dispersed? Although the Tensei people Daozu's strength was astonishing, he could not sense through the tribulation clouds. He was not surprised when he saw that the tribulation clouds had not dispersed. Then he understood. So this person's Daozu tribulation attracted two gates of the source of the Tao. It seems that I have underestimated him. With such potential, he is qualified to be young Prince Zhou-Nua's Tao protector. Zhu Si did not dare to barge into the tribulation clouds without permission, so he could only wait outside. His eyes that were looking at the depths of the tribulation clouds no longer had the contempt and disdain from before. Instead, they were filled with interest. A cultivator who could attract two gates of the source of the Tao was already quite extraordinary. It had attracted the interest of the Tensei people Daozu expert. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fong used his divine ability to shatter the surging heavenly tribulation along the way, and charged towards the orange gate of the source of the Tao. Although it was several times more powerful than the first gate of the source of the Tao, but to Su Fong, it was still not much of a pressure. Su Fong at this moment, Fong had the strength to crush an ordinary Daozu. No matter how powerful the tribulation was, it was only at the level of an ordinary Daozu. Naturally, it could not do anything to him. Master, I suggest that you be careful and conserve your strength as much as possible. The longevity lamp origin spirit suddenly spoke from within the Tao Palace. Why? Even if there are 3 gates of the source of the Tao, I can easily overcome the tribulation and blast open the gate of the Tao. Ordinary gates of the Tao are gray, but the one that appeared in Master's Daozu tribulation was red and orange. I reckon that Master has attracted more than 3 gates of the Tao. The more gates of the Tao there are, the more benefits one will receive from the baptism of the source of the Tao. Naturally, this is a good thing. Even if 8 Tao source gates appear like your previous master, I still have the ability to blast them open. Su Fong responded domineeringly. Then, he gathered his physical strength again and punched the gate of the source of the Tao. Crack! Crack! God! He knew that this time, it was difficult to blast open the gate of the source of the Tao with his physical strength. He only managed to open the orange gate a little. The next tribulation arrived in an instant. Su Fong's divine light changed slightly. He activated the blood fiend Dharma body and erupted with evil-killing intent and divine power. Only then did the orange gate open with a bang. Another golden light bloomed from behind the gate of the source of the Tao, dispersing the tribulation that was about to engulf Su Fong. Su Fong regained his senses and looked over. As expected, the tribulation clouds were still rolling. Thunder raged, tribulation wind and tribulation fire filled the depths of the tribulation clouds. This yellow gate was vaguely visible. It was the 3rd gate of the source of the Tao. Sensing that the aura of the tribulation was several times more powerful than before, Su Fong's expression became a little solemn. Samash's heart was also filled with anticipation. The more powerful the tribulation was, the more gates of the source of the Tao would appear. It proved that the benefits obtained after the tribulation and the future achievements would be more powerful. I want to see how many gates of the source of the Tao my Daozu tribulation has attracted. Su Fong let out a laugh and rushed into the rolling tribulation. Outside the tribulation clouds, the Tensei People's Daozu powerhouse, Zhu Si, saw the golden light that bloomed after the 2nd gate of the source of the Tao was opened. He was also quite surprised. He revealed a joyful expression. There are actually 3 gates of the source of the Tao. Once this person succeeds, he will be a powerful Daozu. He will be superior to ordinary Daozu. If he is subdued, young Prince Zhou Nua's overall strength will definitely increase by a lot. I hope he doesn't fail the tribulation. If it really doesn't work, I can only lend him a hand. Zhu Si was a little worried that Su Fong would fail the tribulation. The Tensei people would lose a powerful subordinate. He planned to lend a hand at the critical moment. 9 Suns Heavenly Wheel. Massacre Heavenly Wheel. Xinyang Heavenly Wheel. Su Fong used the formless Heavenly Wheel to break through the tribulation. After more than 2 hours, he finally arrived in front of the yellow gate. The number of divine runes on the gate was much fewer than the previous 2, but its aura was even more shocking. Su Fong attacked 3 times in a row before he finally blasted open the 3rd gate of the source of the Tao. Behind the 3rd gate of the source of the Tao was the same. In the depths of the terrifying tribulation, there was a green gate. Chapter 32:10. The longevity lamp original spirit's prediction was correct. The Tao source gate that appeared in Su Fong's Daozu tribulation was indeed extraordinary. There were actually 4 Tao source gates. Looking at the green Tao source gate in the depths of the heavenly tribulation, Su Fong's eyes flickered. More Tao source gates meant that the heavenly tribulation was more powerful. At the same time, it also meant that the ethereal heavenly Tao acknowledged Su Fong. His future potential far exceeded that of an ordinary Daozu. Long the longevity lamp original spirit exclaimed, Master, I reckon that you are the cultivator who attracted the most Tao source gates in human history. Even that divine lord of 10 directions is inferior to you. Divine lord of 10 directions? If he hadn't been hunted down by the experts of a human race and been forced to split into 3 different individuals, his tribulation as a complete divine master of 10 directions might have been even more shocking than mine. Su Fong still believed that he was inferior to Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Master, don't belittle yourself. Even Divine Lord of 10 Directions didn't cultivate an immortal Tao heart like you did, nor did he have a physical body that surpassed human limits. He also didn't have a primordial heavenly treasure like immortality. That's true. Great confidence surged in Fong's heart. 10 Directions, even if Divine Lord of 10 Directions hadn't split himself, he wouldn't have been able to cultivate an immortal Tao heart. His physical body wasn't as heaven-defying as Su Fong's, surpassing the limits of human cultivators. His Daozu tribulation naturally wouldn't be as shocking as Su Fong's. Su Fong had what Divine Lord of 10 Directions had back then, but what Su Fong had now, Divine Lord of 10 Directions didn't. From this, it could be seen that Su Fong's future achievements wouldn't be any weaker than Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Next, Su Fong swept through everything in his path, fighting against the heavenly tribulation that exuded world-destroying heavenly might. This time, Su Fong spent half a day and expended a lot of energy to reach the 4th Tao Source Gate with great difficulty. I wonder if the 4th level of the Tao Source Gate will be my limit? Su asked. Fong focused his thoughts and attacked the Tao Source Gate. The green Tao Source Gate was finally opened. In the depths of the heavenly tribulation, there was another Tao Source Gate. The 5th gate. The 5th Tao Source Gate. Master, who would have thought that 5 Tao Source Gates would appear in your Tao ancestor heavenly tribulation? The longevity lamp soul said in a shocked voice. Master, I didn't expect that 5 Tao Source Gates would appear in your Tao ancestor heavenly tribulation. I never expected that the cultivators of the human race would actually be able to draw over 5 gates of the Tao source. Nothing is impossible. I've already told you that I, Su Fong, am not an ordinary person. The calamity of Daozu this time is enough to prove that I'm not lying. Su Fong's ambition is not only the powerful Daozu, but also the highest peak of the great Tao. What does a mere 5 gates of the Tao source amount to? With great confidence and lofty ambitions, he charged towards the 5th Tao source gate. Tribulation beyond the clouds. That Zusi of the Tensei, people stared fixedly at the tribulation clouds. His eyes were filled with shock and even a hint of jealousy. Heavens! The Aeon clan was one of the higher clans of the chaos. Their talents and potential far surpassed that of ordinary clans. Therefore, the Daozu of the Tensei people were much more powerful than the Daozu of ordinary clans. Zusi was a powerful Daozu of the Tensei people. Even among the Tensei people, he was a renowned figure. When he first attacked the Daozu, a total of 4 Tao source gates appeared in his tribulation. Later on, he became a powerful Daozu expert. Now, a cultivator from an unknown clan had also summoned 4 Tao source gates in the Daozu tribulation. Moreover, it didn't look like it was going to stop anytime soon. How could Zusi not be shocked and envious? If you know what's good for you and obediently submit, I will leave you a way out. If you don't know what's good for you, Zusi looked at the tribulation clouds, his eyes cold and gloomy. The heavenly tribulation Su Fong encountered on the way to the 5th level of the door of the Tao quintessence seemed to possess a similar might. Yet actually, the heavenly tribulation contained a supreme principle of annihilation and the will of the heavens that couldn't be defied. So, this might was a few times more formidable than the 4th level of the door of the Tao quintessence. Su Fong had paid a heavy price for this. Apart from the primordial qi, half of the Tao Palace's energy had been consumed. Fortunately, he wasn't injured. Boom! Su Fong activated the primordial wheel and blasted the 5th Tao source gate open. It was still a glaring golden light that rushed toward them. To Su Fong's surprise, the Tao source didn't appear. Instead, there was an even more terrifying tribulation. and the sixth Tao, source gate in the depths of the tribulation. The heavenly tribulation here was even more frightening. The heavenly Tao's supreme truth contained within the heavenly tribulation that could destroy everything, causing the might of the heavenly tribulation to be several times stronger. Fortunately, Su Fang's soul and Tao heart were difficult to shake, otherwise, he would definitely be injured. The sixth Tao source gate should be the limit. Su Fang opened the sixth Tao source gate. He never expected to see the same thing as before. There was a seventh Tao source gate waiting for him. The longevity lamp origin spirit exclaimed, "Master, it seems your potential can reach the heights of this subordinate's former master. You'll definitely become an eternal immortal in the future. It's better to live in the present and think about how to survive the Daozu tribulation. If I can't survive this tribulation, everything in the future will be a fantasy." Su Fang smiled wryly. The next tribulation wouldn't be so easy to survive. Also, fortunately, the longevity lamp origin spirit had allowed Su Fang to fuse with the heavenly Tao fruit. Otherwise, Su Fang would have stopped here. It was hard to say whether or not he could open the seventh Tao source gate. Outside the tribulation clouds, the Tensei people's expert Zusi was dumbfounded. Besides disbelief, there was also intense jealousy in his eyes. This person can't be allowed to live. With his potential, the Tensei people won't be able to subdue him. Even if they can, there won't be a place for me under the young prince's command in the future. Zusi's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was waiting for Su Fang to finish his tribulation so that he could kill Su Fang in one fell swoop. Boom, boom, boom. Bolts of tribulation, lightning, fire, and wind were no longer in the form of thunder, fire, or wind. Instead, they transformed into lifelike divine dragons. They roared ferociously with world-destroying, thunderous roars. The winds howled, and the flames spewed out of their mouths as they attacked Su Fang. Su Fang used the formless heavenly wheel to form layers of defense around him. However, it couldn't stop the attacks of the tribulation. The layers of defense shattered. "Break for me!" Su Fang activated the cool saber monarch with all his strength. The cold, sharp saber light flashed out and shattered the bolts of tribulation lightning. However, Su Fang took the opportunity to break free from the shackles. When the tribulation was condensing again, he used the heavenly wheel to shatter the tribulation. After a day, he finally reached the seventh gate of heaven. Gate of the source of the Tao, open. Su Fang activated the blood evil Dharma body in the state of the evil corpse. The sound of the heavenly way burst out from the heart of the slayer and shook open the seventh gate of heaven. "There really is an eighth gate of heaven," Su Fang exclaimed. Fang Jin entered the seventh gate of heaven. Although he had expected it, the scene he saw still made him feel helpless and surprised. The tribulation was rolling. In the depths of the endless tribulation, there was a white jade gate. It was the eighth gate of the source of the Tao. The longevity lamp's shocked voice sounded in Su Fang's Taoist palace. "Master is really incredible. There really is an eighth gate of the source of the Tao. In the future, you will definitely reach the height of my former master." Su Fang grabbed hundreds of king-grade elixirs and swallowed them in one breath. He said with a serious expression, "It will be very difficult to pass through the eighth gate of the source of the Tao." There was no way. Su Fang could not turn back now. Even if he knew it was a dead end, he had to go on. The primordial qi rolled out from his body and turned into a barrier that enveloped Su Fang. Then, Su Fang rushed forward recklessly. He could no longer fight against the tribulation. He only wanted to pass through the tribulation as soon as possible and reach the eighth gate of heaven. Roar! Roar! Bolts of heavenly thunder rolled over and quickly transformed into divine dragons. The sound of thunder also turned into a dragon's roar that caused the world to change color. The barrier around Su Fang shook and began to shatter layer by layer. The will of the heavenly way in the tribulation and the invisible tribulation wind that could wipe out souls could not be stopped by the barrier. They rushed into Su Fang's body. Boom! 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 Under the attack of the will of the heavenly way, Su Fang's Tao heart began to waver. However, as an obsession surged from the depths of his Tao heart, Su Fang's Tao heart became firm again. My heart is like the heavens, containing everything. The will of the heavenly way is also contained by my heart, but it cannot be shaken. Su Fang's perfect state of mind played an important role at this moment. It made it difficult for the will of the heavenly way to destroy his will. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind of tribulation seeped into Su Fang's body. An illusory will of the heavenly way wanted to blow Su Fang's soul origin away from his body. However, Su Fang had fused with the longevity lamp and cultivated the longevity celestial body. The wind of tribulation could not shake the primordial heavenly treasure. No matter how the wind of tribulation blew, it could only make the longevity lamp flutter. It could not extinguish the longevity lamp. However, Su Fang was also trapped in the vast tribulation and could not move. He could only move forward step by step. The situation became dangerous for him. Tribulation outside the clouds. The Tensei people, Daozu, saw the dazzling golden light released when the seventh gate of the origin of the Tao was opened. In an instant, it was as if there were 10,000 shocking heavenly thunders in his head. He turned into an ice sculpture. The seventh gate of the origin of the Tao. This cultivator is heaven-defying. Zhu Si was shocked, and fear surged in his heart. Even among the Tensei people, Daozu only had one person who had the seventh gate of the Tensei people. He later became the number one immortal realm expert among the Tensei people. However, the great tribulation in the tribulation clouds showed no signs of ending. It was possible that the eighth gate of the Tao would appear again, such as how could the Tensei people Daozu not be shocked and in awe of this heaven-defying feat? The eighth gate of the Tao. This person is indeed heaven-defying. In the future, he will definitely be a peerless existence that will make even the immortals of my race tremble in fear. Since I was able to meet this person, it proves that it is my fortuitous encounter. It is my good fortune. Chapter 32:11. Reaching the peak of Daozu is already my limit. Although I have endless lifespan, there will be a time when my lifespan comes to an end. Moreover, I am from a branch family of the Tensei people. Although I have some status among the Tensei people, I will always be below others. If I surpass Daozu and become an immortal, I will also be an ancestor of the Tensei people. I will have the same lifespan as the heavenly Tao. At the same time, I will also have supreme authority among the Tensei people. If I kill that cultivator when he is undergoing the baptism of the source of the Tao, I can seize the source of the Tao and use a forbidden technique to completely change my talent and potential. This way, I will have the possibility of becoming an immortal. The Tensei people's Daozu expert, Zhou Si had a crazy idea in his mind. He actually planned to kill Su Fang when he was undergoing the baptism of the source of the Tao and seize Su Fang's good fortune to change his cultivation talent. One had to say that he was bold, crazy, and arrogant. Whoosh! Zhou Si took a step forward. Although he didn't seem to be fast, in fact, the aura of the Tao of time surged around him, making the distance of space meaningless to him. In an instant, he arrived in the tribulation clouds. After Su Fang opened the gate of the source of the Tao, the heavenly tribulation outside the gate of the source of the Tao disappeared. Therefore, it didn't pose any threat to Zhou Si. Zhou Si's figure floated through the layers of gates of the Tao and arrived outside the eighth gate of the source of the Tao, where Su Fang was fighting against the heavenly tribulation. Seeing Su Fang being attacked by the divine dragons formed by the heavenly tribulation, Zhou Si raised his eyebrows. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. A human cultivator? And this person is none other than the human cultivator that the county king is looking for. Su Fang. Nua's father had obtained Su Fang's portrait from the cultivators of the 5 divine races. Naturally, it wasn't strange that Zhou Si could recognize Su Fang at a glance. Zhou Si was shocked and surprised Zhou Si was that Su Fang's Daozu tribulation could actually produce 8 gates of the source of the Tao. And in the minds of the alien race experts, the human race was an inferior race. Even if they could produce Daozu experts, their strength was limited. During the Great Tribulation of Daozu, a gate of the source of Tao had barely appeared. Su Fangning had actually drawn in 8 Tao source gates, completely overturning Zeus priest's understanding of human cultivators. Jin, despite his shock, Zhu Si looked at Su Fang with a hearty light in his eyes. The Duke went to the human world to look for this human cultivator, but I didn't expect that he would actually transcend his tribulation here. If this isn't my good fortune, then what is? If I kill him, not only will I be able to seize his opportunity to undergo a Tao origin baptism, but I'll also be able to gain Zhou Nua's favor. When the time comes, I'll be able to ask for some treasures and resources, and I might even have a chance to step out of the Daozu. Zhou Nua was full of ambition, but he had no intention of making a move. Here, if he attacked Su Fang now, not only would he not be able to obtain the opportunity to undergo a Tao origin baptism, but he would also get himself into trouble. Even if he was a powerful Daozu, facing such a powerful heavenly tribulation, it would be difficult for him to escape calmly. He can't hold on anymore. The human race is useless. They can't even grasp such a good fortune. It seems that I can only lend him a hand. Zhou Nua raised his eyebrows when he saw Su Fang unable to move an inch in the heavenly tribulation. Sui shouted at Su Fang, "Human cultivator, I can meet you here. It seems that there is some karma between you and me. Seeing that you are so extraordinary, I can't bear to see you die in the heavenly tribulation. I plan to help you pass through this tribulation." Daozu of the Tensei people? Su asked. Fang Ning was concentrating on dealing with the heavenly tribulation. When he heard Zeus priest's voice, he focused his eyes and looked at him. Here, this was the outer realm chaos. It was not too far from the human race's world. It was definitely not a coincidence that he met a powerful Daozu of the Tensei people here. That Daozu of the Tensei people was definitely not here for sightseeing. You want to help me pass through this tribulation? How do you want to help me pass through this tribulation? Su asked. Fang Ning activated more than 10 thoughts. After burning them, he shattered the divine dragons formed by the heavenly tribulation. Then, he replied calmly. Zeus priest continued to transmit his thoughts. That is your Daozu's great tribulation. Naturally, I can't help you. At that time, it will affect me. I happen to have a powerful talisman condensed by a top expert of my race. It is called the Eternal Instant Talisman. It can help you pass through this tribulation. Eternal Instant Talisman? Su Fang's heart was burning. Why? Back in the Reizegu people's ruins of God, Su Fang used the Eternal Instant Talisman to escape from under the noses of hundreds of thousands of foreign cultivators and snatch the Reizegu crystal. How could Su Fang not know the power of the Eternal Instant Talisman? The Eternal Instant Talisman in the hands of this powerful Daozu expert was definitely much more powerful than the one he had taken from a Dao saint. Zeus priest continued, "Of course, I won't help you for free. After you pass through this tribulation, you will have to give me a small portion of the Dao Source's power when you undergo the baptism." You can use my Dao Source's baptism power? Su Fang was startled. He immediately understood Zeus priest's intentions, but he did not expose him. Zeus priest said, "I have my own secret method to refine your Dao Source's baptism power. Don't worry, I only need a small portion. I can't bear any more than that." Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. Of course. It's a deal. Zeus priest revealed a delighted expression. With a flick of his finger, a thought condensed into a Xian Guang that enveloped a talisman. It slowly floated towards Su Fang. Read? The talisman contained a supreme will of time and heavenly Tao. When the heavenly tribulation bombarded the Xian Guang, it seemed to experience endless time and quickly exhausted its power. The talisman quickly disappeared. It passed through layers of tribulation lightning and appeared around Su Fang. Su Fang used his divine might to draw it into his hand. It really is an eternal instant talisman, and it's 10 times more powerful than the one I obtained in the ruins of God. Responding to the aura of the talisman, Su Fang's eyes flashed with a hearty light. He did not hesitate to send his magic power into the talisman. A powerful divine might of time swept out in an instant. The terrifying heavenly tribulation also paused for a moment under the might of the eternal instant talisman. Su Fang took hold of the opportunity and teleported to the 8th layer Dao source door. Boom! Boom! Su Fang directly bombarded the white jade gate with his primordial energy. Receive. After bombarding it a dozen times in a row, Su Fang's primordial energy was consumed at an alarming rate. Finally, the 8th gate was blasted open, releasing endless golden light. Below, the heavenly tribulation sweeping towards him was completely dispersed by the golden light. Just as he was submerged in the golden light, he could not see anything. Suddenly, a will and divine might descended and shackled him. It turned out that Zeus C could not wait to make a move. He planned to suppress Su Fang and possess him before entering the 8th gate to receive the baptism of the Tao source. Oh my, I know. Chi. Just as Zeus C shackled Su Fang, blood-red vines flashed out of Su Fang's body, piercing through the shackles around him and tearing them apart. However, the blood-red vines also turned into withered vines under the power of time. Just as he broke free of the shackles and was about to escape, a chaotic power of time enveloped him and pulled him into the shackles of time, as expected of the powerful Daozu of the Tensei people. However, you are delusional if you want to shackle me, Su Fang. As long as I escape into the Tao source, you won't dare to attack me no matter how powerful you are. Su Fang had long been on guard against the powerful Daozu of the Tensei people. The moment the blood-red vines tore apart the shackles, the power of my Lord's 10 Directions seal erupted. The mighty power of the 10 Directions seal shattered Zeus C's power of time. Then, Su Fang's figure flashed out. All of this happened in a flash. Before the golden light released by the 8th gate to the Tao source had completely dissipated, Su Fang had already escaped from the area enveloped by the golden light. Unexpectedly, what lay behind the 8th gate to the Tao source was not the Tao source as Su Fang had imagined. Instead, it was still a vast and terrifying heavenly tribulation. In the deepest part of the tribulation cloud, there was a black gate that was 1,000 feet long. The 9th gate to the Tao source. No, thought, absolutely did not expect. Su Fang. The Daozu Great Tribulation had actually attracted 9 gates to the Tao source. Long Life Lamp's shocked voice resounded in Su Fang's mind. The 9th gate to the Tao source. Heaven-defying, too heaven-defying. Master, you have actually surpassed my previous master. 9 gates to the Tao source have actually appeared in Daozu's Great Tribulation. Monstrous waves surged in Su Fang's heart. Then, he was both surprised and delighted. No, obviously, he was more surprised than delighted. Before, he was about to face an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation. There was also a powerful Tensei people behind him. How could Su Fang be delighted? The 9th gate to the Tao source. What kind of heaven-defying existence is this human cultivator to be able to attract 9 gates to the Tao source? Zeus C, who was outside the 8th gate to the Tao source, was also extremely shocked when he saw this scene. Then his eyes began to flicker with luster. I have never heard of 9 gates to the Tao source. If I can seize such a fortune, I will definitely be able to surpass Daozu's limits in the future and become a supreme immortal. Kill. As soon as he appeared in the area overflowing with the power of heavenly tribulation, he was immediately shackled. Then, a voice filled with the majesty of the heavenly Tao and a desolate will suddenly rang out. A figure quickly emerged from the black gate and transformed into a 300-meter-tall golden giant. His eyes were indifferent, as cold as the merciless heavenly Tao. His entire body was covered in golden divine runes, and he emitted a terrifying destructive aura of the heavenly Tao. This, of course, he wasn't a real person. He was a manifestation of heavenly tribulation. Not only was he 10 times more powerful than the divine dragon Su Fong had encountered before, but he also seemed to possess spiritual intelligence. You want to seize Su Fong's fortune? How can I let you do as you wish? Su Fong suddenly turned around and headed straight for the 8th gate. Damn it, he actually didn't attack the 9th gate to the Tao source to escape the heavenly tribulation. Zhu Si was stunned. He never expected Su Fong to make such a move. When faced with heavenly tribulation, one could only face it head-on. Only by defeating it would one have a chance to advance. Who had ever seen someone flee during a tribulation? Face against heavenly tribulation, where could one run? In the end, one would die even faster and more miserably. Chapter 32:12. The Rui heavenly astral wheel suddenly erupted with a distorted divine might that enveloped Zhu Si. Then, it was about to move Zhu Si to the golden giant charging at Su Fong. It turned out that Su Fong's escape was fake. His real intention was to use Zhu Si as a scapegoat. Even if he couldn't resolve the heavenly tribulation, he could at least exhaust most of its power and share some of the pressure on Su Fong. Human cultivator, you're despicable, Zhu Si shouted angrily. He erupted with his will and thoughts to resist the might of the Rui heavenly astral wheel. As expected of the powerful Daozu of the Tensei people, even the Rui heavenly astral wheel couldn't allow Su Fong to teleport him. However, Zhu Si was still dragged into the 8th gate of Tao Source. Zhu Si staggered and tried to retreat, but it was already too late. 1. After entering the 8th gate of Tao Source, one would be tainted with the aura of the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation had its own consciousness. Zhu Si's appearance was perceived by the heavenly tribulation as an attempt to interfere with it. How could he escape? 1. A figure separated from the golden giant formed by the heavenly tribulation and transformed into 2 identical golden giants that charged at Su Fong and Zhu Si. The aura of the heavenly tribulation of the 2 golden giants weakened significantly. They weren't as strong as the previous one. What a pity! I have no choice but to fight with my life on the line. Su Fong felt a wave of regret. However, it wasn't all for naught. At the very least, the Daozu of the Tensei people had shared a lot of the pressure on him. After retrieving the Rui heavenly astral wheel, Su Fong charged at the incoming golden giant. Boom! Boom! 1. A battle of life and death unfolded in front of the 9th gate of Tao Source. No, it was just Su Fong. Just like Su Fong, Zhu Si was caught in a bitter battle. The golden giant's aura was still at the level of an ordinary Daozu. However, every attack of the golden giant contained a supreme principle of the heavenly Tao. Its true strength was definitely comparable to a powerful Daozu. My Daozu's great tribulation is actually at the level of the powerful Daozu. I really don't know if I should be proud or depressed. Su said, other than the longevity lamp, the violet fate avatar, and the destiny avatar, he had used almost all of his other avatar abilities. Boom! Boom! Su Fong was constantly pushed back by the golden giant. If not for his near-immortal Taoist heart and undying soul, even the will of the heavenly way would not be able to suppress him. It would be very difficult for him to escape the fate of being suppressed. My master's 10 directions seal, suppress. Su Fong's corpse, good corpse, and evil corpse all erupted with powerful wills at the same time. Boundless killing intent, an obsession that even the heavenly Tao found difficult to suppress, and a kindness that protected all, combined with the primordial energy, punched out. This punch carried the strongest might of my master's 10 direction seal, and it revealed a supreme principle of sealing and suppressing everything. It was truly shocking. Boom! With Su Fong clashed, and the golden giant was forced to retreat. The will of the heavenly Tao began to collapse, and its body began to shatter layer by layer. Su activated the 3 heaven-destroying spikes, and they turned into shocking blood spikes that were 1,000 feet long. They pierced the golden giant's head, chest, and abdomen respectively. Boom! 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 The golden giant formed by the heavenly tribulation finally began to collapse, and it turned into tribulation lightning, tribulation fire, and tribulation wind that swept out wantonly. Su Fong was also at the end of his rope. He absorbed the heaven-destroying spikes into his Taoist palace, and then burned thousands of thoughts to break free of his shackles. In an instant, he teleported to the ninth door of the source of the Tao. Ninth door of the source of the Tao, open for me. Su Fong punched the door of the source of the Tao with all his might. Crack! Crack! The black door swayed, and only a crack opened. Damn it! This result greatly exceeded Su Fong's expectations. Whoosh! Just now, the golden giant that Su Fong had just shattered actually began to reform its body. Damn it, the ninth door of the source of the Tao is so difficult to open. The heavenly tribulation is also so difficult to deal with. Su Fong gritted his teeth and activated the Rui heavenly dipper wheel again. The white Xian Guang flashed, and in an instant, it appeared above the head of the golden giant that had not yet fully recovered. The Rui heavenly dipper wheel erupted with a distorted divine power. It wrapped around the golden giant and directly teleported it away, appearing behind Zhu Si. Cut off the aura of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Fong Tieming's avatar used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to cut off the aura of destiny. The golden giant that Su Fong had teleported away quickly reformed its body. It could not sense Su Fong's aura, but it saw Zhu Si. It let out a furious roar and charged towards Zhu Si. Show! Zhu Si had to face two golden giants that were almost as strong as him at the same time. Moreover, they were the incarnations of the heavenly tribulation. He was in big trouble. Damn human cultivator, what kind of supernatural power did you use? Despicable. You are really despicable. Zhu Si was shocked and angry. He used all of his skills, but it was still difficult for him to resist. He had no choice but to activate an ancient Bell Xian Bo. The divine power released by the ancient Bell Xian Bo was truly astonishing. It formed a turbulent flow of time around them, trapping the two golden giants. Although they were less than 3,000 meters away from Zhu Si, it was as if they were separated by endless time and space. They could not threaten Zhu Si at all. With the help of the Xian Bo, Zhu Si was finally able to catch his breath. However, the anger in his heart and his desire to kill Su Fong were still monstrous. He had planned to kill Su Fong and seize Su Fong's good fortune, but in the end, he had thrown himself into this mess. How could he not be angry? Su Fong used the heaven's secret life shrinking technique to conceal his aura, but he could only maintain it for an instant. However, using that instant, he finally broke free from the entanglement of the heavenly tribulation and launched another attack on the black door. Open for me. Su Fong's eyes burned with the flames of madness and determination. This time, he burned his life force and energy to erupt with an attack 10 times more powerful than his own. For after successfully transcending the tribulation, Su Fong had completely thrown caution to the wind. He had no choice but to go all out. If he did not open the ninth gate of the source of the Tao, the heavenly tribulation would arrive in an instant. How could he have the strength to deal with the heavenly tribulation? Boom! Rumble! The black gate of the source of the Tao finally opened slowly. However, it still did not open completely. There was only a gap of more than a foot wide. Su! A sense of despair welled up in Fong's heart. Rumble! 1. The golden giant transformed from the heavenly tribulation suddenly collapsed and turned into a rumble of tribulation lightning, tribulation fire, and tribulation wind. It rushed towards Su Fong with a whoosh. I, Su Fong, want to set foot on the supreme peak. Even the heavenly Tao cannot stop me. Su Fong roared and urged the cool saber sovereign to slash at the surging heavenly tribulation. Explode. Su Fong actually detonated the cool saber sovereign. The fierce and cold explosion shattered the heavenly tribulation. Boom! Su Fong burned himself again. His whole body began to burn, and then he crashed directly into the black gate. This time, it was his last struggle. He had to. Either burn the last of his strength to break open the ninth gate of the source of the Tao, or burn everything. Apart from the longevity lamp's protection, everything else would be reduced to ashes. The unshakable ninth gate of the source of the Tao finally opened with a loud bang. The burning Su Fong rushed into the gate. From the black gate, the color of chaos erupted. The Xian Guang swept through the entire tribulation cloud. The power of the heavenly tribulation in the tribulation cloud began to dissipate, turning into a peaceful aura, and then quickly began to shrink. The golden giant transformed from the heavenly tribulation also began to shatter layer by layer. Soon it disappeared. Zhou. He was repelled by the divine power of the heavenly Tao. In the end, he was forcefully swept out of the tribulation cloud and appeared in the chaotic void. Damn it, I actually couldn't catch the human cultivator and let him open the final gate of the source of the Tao. Since the injuries on his body, he had lost another incomparably powerful eternal instant talisman. He could not help but grit his teeth. Such a heaven-defying human cultivator who attracted the ninth gate of the source of the Tao will definitely become immortal in the future. If we don't take advantage of his weakened state after the tribulation to kill him, not only me, young Prince Zhou Nuo, but also the entire Tensei people will be a great threat. CC looked at the rapidly shrinking tribulation cloud. His eyes shot out a fierce, murderous aura. The tribulation cloud rolled and shrank. In the end, it turned into a 1,000-foot-long cocoon. Silkworm. The cocoon exuded an astonishing aura of the great Tao, as if it was nurturing some peerless treasure. Once it broke out of the cocoon, it would definitely shock the world. Inside the cocoon, Su Fong burned himself. His entire body turned into nothingness. Everything was burning and disappearing. Just as Su Fong thought that he was going to die, a peaceful and ancient aura surrounded him like a tide. His body stopped burning, and everything fell into a peaceful state. Su Fong felt as if he had turned into a fetus in his mother's womb. Every cell, soul, and Tao heart in his body fell into a relaxed and peaceful state that he had never experienced before. Is this the baptism of the heavenly Tao? Su Fong was surprised and happy. Then he started to fall into a drowsy state. Chong. The life lamp suddenly spoke in the Tao Palace. Master, quickly merge the immortal sky heart jade with your Tao heart. Make use of the baptism of the heavenly Tao to cultivate an immortal Tao heart. Su Fong was energized. He quickly gathered his thoughts and sent the immortal sky heart jade to the side of his Tao heart. Chong. This mysterious power naturally caused his Tao heart to merge with the immortal sky heart jade. His Tao heart started to absorb the aura of the immortal sky heart jade. Su Fong's consciousness also started to blur. He fell into a strange state like that of a fetus. Sizzle, sizzle, the aura of the heavenly Tao seeped into Su Fong's body. Not only was there primordial chaos, there was also the supreme heavenly Tao. Like nutrients in a mother's womb, it continuously seeped into and cleansed Su Fong's physical body, Tao Palace, Tao Heart, and Origin Soul. Su Fong was in a state of unconsciousness. He was like a universe of his own, encompassing and absorbing everything. Fortunately, Su Fong had heeded the longevity lamp's origin spirit's advice and merged with the heavenly Tao fruit in advance. As a result, Su Fong's ability to absorb the heavenly Tao's origin spirit increased by several times. Su Fong was submerged in the boundless darkness. After some time, as if he had experienced countless reincarnations, or as if he had passed through an instant, he finally regained consciousness. Well, the moment he regained consciousness, it was like the first ray of light had been born in the endless chaos, tearing apart the world of darkness. Crack, crack. Chapter 32:13. Su Fong was like a caterpillar that had struggled painstakingly to break out of its cocoon and transform into a butterfly. Josie stared at the cocoon, his eyes filled with fierce, killing intent, as well as anger and regret. He had planned to possess Su Fong and obtain the Tao Source baptism, thus seizing the fortune and hope of surpassing the Daozu. 9. How astonishing would the Tao Source baptism he would receive after opening the gate of the Tao Source would be? Now, it was all gone. Also, how could Zeus see not be angry when he was the one who was implicated? Heaven, this was how tyrannical the Aeon race's experts were. It was only right and proper for them to plunder other cultivators' fortunes. If they couldn't, the other party deserved to die 10,000 deaths. Crack, crack, crack. The cocoon shattered layer by layer, revealing Su Fong's figure. Josie looked over in surprise. Su Fong did not have a single piece of clothing on his body, as if he was a newborn baby. His skin was soft and tender, and his body contained an astonishing vitality that surpassed the limits of the human race and many other powerful races. His aura was empty, and he looked no different from an ordinary person. But it was this ordinariness that caused Zhou Si's heart to palpitate. Zhou, a thought naturally appeared in Si's mind. The great Tao is the simplest, returning to the natural state. The fear in his heart intensified Zhou Si's killing intent. This person isn't just a peerless figure of the human race. Even among the Tensei people, he's a powerful existence that hasn't appeared in 10,000 years. He can't be allowed to grow. Su Fong opened his eyes. His gaze was clear and deep, without a trace of impurity, able to contain everything. Seeing the chaotic void around him, Su Fong looked like he'd just woken up. Confusion flashed through his eyes, and then he frowned. Jin, after ascending to the Daozu, his entire being had undergone an astonishing transformation. Many things had appeared in his mind, making Su Fong somewhat uncomfortable. Before Su Fong could get used to it, Zhu Si's cold voice was filled with mockery and killing intent. Human cultivator, you become a Daozu, and a peerless Daozu with 9 gates of the Tao Source. Aren't you excited? I'm sorry, but everything you have will be killed by me. Su Fong looked at Zhu Si. His eyes were as calm as water as he said, You still haven't left? If you had left earlier, I would have spared your life. After all, you have helped me a lot in overcoming the tribulation. But you dare to stay. That's because you're courting death. You can't blame my Su Fong. Zhu Si sneered disdainfully, shameless boasting. You just ascended to the Daozu, and your body is weak. Moreover, you've just touched the true essence of the great Tao. I'm a supreme Daozu of the Tensei people, and I've been a Daozu for countless years. You actually want to suppress me? It seems that you become a little arrogant after ascending to the Daozu. You think you can look down on all experts. Su Fong smiled. Indeed, I don't take you seriously. Zhu Si let out a cold snort and stared at Su Fong. His voice was filled with endless vicissitudes of life. Human cultivator, you are indeed extraordinary. Unfortunately, you have encountered me. Everything is like a flash in the pan. I have created a divine ability called the epiphyllum finger. You can be considered to have good fortune to be able to die under my supreme divine ability. After that, he raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at Su Fong. A divine power instantly enveloped Su Fong. Divine. The divine power contained the ultimate truth of the great Tao. All beautiful things didn't last long. They would disappear in an instant like a flash in the pan. At the same time, it also contained a cold and ruthless will of the great Tao. Daozu experts have touched the true essence of the great Tao and comprehended the truth of the great Tao. The divine ability they cast with the ultimate truth of the great Tao is like the power of the great Tao. This person comes from the Tensei people, and his divine ability is even more amazing. Unfortunately, he's facing me, Su Fong. Su Fong smiled casually. A supreme, domineering aura that looked down on everything spontaneously emerged at this moment. Tight. Then, black and white Xian Guang shot out from his eyes. A kind of great Tao of yin and yang coexisted and strengthened each other, erupted with a loud bang. The great Tao of heaven released by Su Fong was somewhat blurry. It was obvious that he had just ascended to the Daozu and had touched the true essence of the great Tao after receiving the baptism of the great Tao's origin. However, His great Tao of heaven was obviously superior to the great Tao of time. One was a boundless ocean, while the other was merely a river. No matter how turbulent the river was, it couldn't shake the ocean. Instead, it was swallowed and contained by the ocean. Boom! Josie's divine might was shattered layer by layer. The shackles around him instantly disappeared. His body staggered and his face turned pale. So you're cultivating the supreme great Tao of heaven and can derive yin and yang. No wonder Daozu's great tribulation can draw out the 9 gates of the great Tao's origin. Josie wasn't surprised and exclaimed loudly, "I wonder if I have the strength to kill you now?" Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and looked at Josie. "You're just a Daozu who has just ascended. Even if you're cultivating the supreme great Tao of heaven, how much true essence can you grasp? You want to suppress me? What a big joke." Josie sneered disdainfully and stared at Su Fong. The strange phenomenon of the passage of time flashed in his eyes. Suddenly light flashed in the eyes of the queen, instantly enveloping Su Fong and trapping him within. The great Tao caused Su Fong's life to rapidly slip away. In a short moment, it felt like countless years had passed. His life went from the peak to death. Boom! Tower! The phantom of a pagoda emerged from Su Fong's body and erupted with 6 great divine might. It contained the great Tao of heaven and earth's natural reincarnation and evolution. It couldn't break Zhou Si's great Tao of time, and Zhou Si couldn't do anything to Su Fong. At this time, Su Fong looked at Zhou Si and smiled. He waved his hand and grabbed at Zhou Si. In an instant, Zhou Si felt that he was trapped in misfortune and calamity. The great Tao of heaven that he couldn't escape from was crazily devouring his luck. How can a human cultivator who has just ascended grasp so many great Tao of heaven and earth? Josie exclaimed in disbelief. Only now did he realize that something was wrong. Generally speaking, after ascending to Daozu, the number of avatars one had and the number of great Tao of heaven and earth would depend on how many great Tao of heaven and earth one could comprehend after being baptized by the great Tao of heaven. Then, one could create a powerful divine ability from the great Tao of heaven and earth. This was the ability of a Daozu expert. Su Fong had just ascended to Daozu, but he was already able to use the 3 great Tao of heaven and earth, yin yang, nature, and fate. Although they weren't divine abilities, each of them was extraordinary. How could Josie not be shocked? Human cultivator, why should I fight to the death with you? I only need to inform the Duke of your whereabouts. Experts will come and suppress you. Let's see how you could defy the heavens then. Josie spread his hands apart. Hundreds of thousands of thoughts turned into a long river of time. He broke free from the shackles of the tribulation and was about to escape. Who knew an ethereal divine might descended with a rumble, shackling Zeus' temple? The divine might contained a great Tao of heaven that couldn't be defied. It made Zhou Si's Tao heart tremble. His will couldn't help but submit to the supreme divine might of fate. The long river of time began to shatter. Chi, chi, chi. Blood vines as thick as an arm shot out from Su Fong's body, as if they were condensed from black blood. They intertwined around Zeus Si, sealing off space and time and tightly binding his body. Then, the will of the great Tao of heaven that couldn't be defied took the opportunity to break Zhou Si's Tao heart. His will instantly collapsed. He didn't expect. Zhou Si never expected that he would be shackled by Su Fong, a newly ascended Daozu. His eyes were filled with surprise and fear. Su Fong smiled. Expert of the Tensei people, do I have the qualifications to suppress you now? Zhou Si had no choice but to grit his teeth and admit, I didn't expect that the human race would have someone as powerful as you. No wonder you could compete with young Duke Zhou Nuo for the Luai's original realm. Zhou Nuo, you were sent by Zhou Nuo. Su Fong's eyes instantly froze. Zhou Si snorted. It's good that you understand. It's not just me. His Highness has led a large group of our race's experts to the human world to kill you and eliminate future trouble for him. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. I didn't expect Zhou Nuo to be so despicable. Isn't he afraid of breaking his oath and being obliterated by the Luai's original realm's realm spirit? Zhou Ci's arrogance returned. His Highness was the one who did this. His Highness doesn't know anything about it. Su Fong, you'd best obediently release me. Otherwise, the Tensei people will obliterate the human race. There will no longer be a human race in the primal chaos. Su Fong Zhou Ci fell silent. Su Fong had thought that the Tensei people wouldn't do anything to him or the human race after Zhou Nuo swore an oath in the Luai's original realm. He thought, but the thing he was most worried about still happened. Heaven's the Ian race was one of the higher races of the primal chaos. The divine master of 10 directions hadn't been dealt with yet, and now they'd attracted the Tensei people. It was impossible for Su Fong not to be afraid. Seeing Su Fong's silence, Zhou Ci smiled smugly. Su Fong, as long as you release me, there's still room for redemption. But if you dare touch a hair on my head, you'll become an enemy of the Tensei people. There's no turning back. The human race can only wait to be annihilated. If I let you go, will the Tensei people let me go? Su Fong Zhou Ci was stunned by Zhou Ci's words. Zhou Nuo and I fought over the Luai's original realm. Sooner or later, he'll lose his life. When that happens, he won't be able to escape the revenge of the Tensei people. So why should I let you go now? If you dare kill me now, the human race will be annihilated. I won't kill you for now, but I'll shackle you and turn you into a bloody pig. A bloody pig? Zhou Ci had a bad premonition. Su Fong smiled wickedly. Being dominated by the evil corpse, he immediately activated the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine and penetrated Zhou Ci's defenses. Then, Su Fong used the soul power of a longevity lamp to shackle Zhou Ci's soul. Whoosh! The blood vine coiled and sucked Zhou Ci into Su Fong's space. 1. Chapter 32:14. Su Fong couldn't feel happy about suppressing a powerful Daozu from the Tensei people. Naturally, it was because the Tensei people had gone to the human world. I didn't expect Zhou Nuo's father to go to the human world. We're in big trouble now. But with Master here, there shouldn't be any problems in the short term. Su Fong frowned, but his heart remained calm. The improvement in the level of his Dao heart allowed him to maintain an unperturbed state when facing any danger or calamity. Then, his body rapidly turned into nothingness, as if merging with the ethereal heavenly Dao and disappearing from the chaos. Dao ancestral experts had already grasped the ultimate truth of the heavenly Dao. Time, space, and layers of shackles weakened Daozu experts. In the past, Su Fong needed thousands of years to return to the human world. Now, he only needed a few decades, to about 30 years. Su Fong broke through the void outside the eastern profound heavenly pavilion. He projected his senses and instantly enveloped the entire eastern profound heavenly pavilion. Daozu experts' senses had become incredibly powerful. With the help of the heavenly Dao, he could sense most of the eastern profound divine region with a thought. Not, as expected, Su Fong was rather surprised. The interior of the eastern profound heavenly pavilion was calm. It hadn't changed much from before he left. It didn't seem like a powerful enemy had arrived. Su Fong, Dao ancestor Xian Sina Divine will over. Since you've returned, it seems that you've completed the test of the Luai's origin realm's second heaven. Master can finally rest assured. You've actually ascended to Daozu. In the next moment, Dongxian Daozu's thought clone flashed out and looked at Su Fong, his eyes filled with shock and relief. Su Fong. Fong smiled awkwardly and didn't explain anything. He hurriedly informed Dongxian Daozu about the Tensei people's experts entering the human world. Lei Su Fong played down the matter of the Luai's origin realm, the Daozu tribulation, and suppressing the Tensei people's expert Zhou Ci. A few years ago, there was an expert who sensed the eastern profound heaven pavilion, but his sensing power only lasted for a brief moment before disappearing. At that time, I found it strange. I didn't expect it to be an expert from the Tensei people. When Dongxian Daozu heard Su Fong's words, he also realized the seriousness of the matter. Master, please contact the other human Daozu and find traces of the Tensei people. I have just advanced and need to stabilize my realm. Su Fong had just broken through, and as soon as he finished his breakthrough, he had fought against the eternal race's Zhu Si. This had made his realm unstable, and he needed to stabilize it as soon as possible. Only then would he have the strength to fight against the eternal race's experts. At this time, you have already advanced to Daozu. The Migres Star's Immortal's Abode is already unsuitable for your cultivation. Come directly to Master's Immortal's Abode. As for the other matters, Master will naturally arrange them. Dongxian Daozu nodded at Su Fong. Afterwards, the figure formed by his thoughts became a ray of divine light that dissipated. Su He entered the inner space of Heaven Pavilion. 1. After sensing for a while, he found that everything on the Migres star was still calm. He did not disturb the others. He only informed Saint Sovereign Siezhu and then went straight into the depths of the starry sky, entering the secret realm where Dongxian Daozu cultivated. Inside, under the guidance of Dongxian Daozu, Su Fong came to the interior of the Immortal's Abode and entered a vast array formed by countless stars. Master's Abode is more than 10 times more powerful than the one on the Migres star. Su Fong sensed that in the vast array of stars, not only was the flow of time 1,000 times different from the outside world, but he could also clearly sense the ethereal heavenly way. Only Daozu experts could cultivate in such a sacred place. Not to mention ordinary cultivators, even Dao saints would not be able to withstand the difference in the flow of time. Su Fong sat cross-legged in the array. Soon, his state of mind became as calm as an ancient well. Peel. Out of consciousness, he sensed the inside and outside of his body. After ascending to Daozu, he did not have time to carefully sense the changes brought about by the ascension. After sensing for a while, Su Fong smiled slightly. His eyes were filled with joy. Receive the baptism of the origin of the heavenly Tao, and the baptism of the origin of the Tao. After shattering the 9 gates of the origin of the Tao, Su Fong's physical body, Tao Palace, Tao Heart, and origin of the Tao had undergone a tremendous transformation. The Tao Palace became even more vast and boundless. It was as vast and boundless as the chaotic void. It seemed empty, but in fact it encompassed everything. In the center of the Tao Palace floated a pure origin aura. It was the primordial aura. Here, not only did the primordial aura become purer, its area also became more astonishing, occupying 1/3 of the Tao Palace. The transformation of the Dharma body was even more shocking. 9. The Dharma body emitted a deep Tao aura and the ultimate truth of different heavenly ways. It was like the embodiment of the heavenly ways. Daozu experts grasped the true meaning of the heavenly ways. Their divine powers contained the ultimate truth of the heavenly ways. They were above the laws and were the foundation and source of the laws. Naturally, their power was not something that Tao saints could compare to. For example, if an extremely ordinary sentence contained the ultimate truth, it would be better than thousands of words and could not be refuted. Only the ultimate truth was unchanging and eternal. By the same logic, Daozu experts' divine powers contain the ultimate truth and the will of the heavenly ways. Compared to cultivators below the Daozu level, just a sentence or a look was a peerless divine ability. When Su Fong was at the Dao Saint level, he could kill Daozu experts because he had various extraordinary abilities, treasures, and monsters like the heavenly swallowing insect and the mermaids. Here, when he ascended to the Daozu level, even he himself could not imagine how strong he would be. I finally understand what the Thunder Lake original realm spirit said. My next cultivation should be to constantly ponder over the various heavenly ways that I have grasped. Then, I will ponder over the ultimate truth of the heavenly ways that belong to me. I can abandon all the divine powers that I have cultivated in the past. I can even forget all of them. Also, I have to sever the 3 corpses and raise my Tao heart to the level of great indifference. Only then can I achieve eternal immortality. After ascending to the Daozu level, Su Fong had a clearer direction for his future cultivation. Although he was still a distance away from the pinnacle of the heavenly ways, he could already see the pinnacle of the heavenly ways very clearly. Flesh's body also underwent another transformation. Here Su Fang's physical body had already surpassed the limits of the human race and reached the level of a high-level life form, where the heavenly Blood King vine had also completely evolved into a mature state along with Su Fang's transformation. Here, if she encountered the heaven-piercing Blood King vine's main body again, even if she returned to her peak state, she would not be able to escape Su Fang's suppression. Here, look at his Tao heart. His Tao heart had become simple and unadorned, but it exuded an aura of eternal immortality and coexistence with heaven and earth. Origin here. Su Fang used the opportunity of the baptism of the Tao origin to quickly merge with the immortal heavenly heart stone and finally cultivate an immortal Tao heart. Cultivate with an immortal Tao heart and a Tao immortal. Su Fang now had a chance to surpass the limits of the human race and reach heights never reached by the human race. He would become an eternal immortal. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had the resources to ascend to the immortal realm. I wonder when the Tensei people will arrive. I have to stabilize my cultivation as soon as possible. Only then will I have the strength to fight against the Tensei people. It would be best if those Tensei people know when to advance and when to retreat. Su Fang began to settle down. He swallowed pills and spiritual items to replenish the huge expenditure from ascending to the Daozu level. Who knew? After swallowing thousands of king-grade pills and countless spiritual items, Su Fang helplessly discovered that the pills refined by the human race and the spiritual items born in the human world were of little use to his cultivation. No wonder the Divine Lord of 10 Directions gathered all the resources of the human race to help him ascend to the immortal realm. Even with the best resources of the human race, it would still be difficult to cultivate an immortal realm expert. Su Fang couldn't help but sigh helplessly. Fortunately, he had just suppressed a powerful Daozu from the Tensei people. This person had a high status among the Tensei people, and his cultivation was also extraordinary. Naturally, he had a lot of high-grade resources on him, and a lot of them at that. Now, all of them had gone to Su Fang. There were many rune talismans and treasures in C's storage ring, including 3 one-instant eternal talismans. 1 talismans were naturally useful to Su Fang, but they were useless to the Xianbao. Dao the Xianbao of an ancestral realm expert was almost all the natal Xianbao that had been cultivated for countless years. Su Fang had no use for it. The Tensei people lived up to their name as the upper race among the chaotic races. Although the pills they refined were king-grade, the materials used to refine them and the level of refining them were far beyond the reach of the human race. Naturally, the medicinal power of the pills was also extraordinary. Su Fang wantonly swallowed pills and began to rapidly fill the emptiness caused by his ascension. He continued to cultivate the Jiuxuan Wuji Sutra, pondering over the information he had gained from the Tao Source baptism and comprehended the heavenly Tao. Su Fang cultivated in Dongxian Daozu's cave abode. Before he knew it, 1,000,000 years had passed. Tao, the cultivation of an ancestral realm expert, was often measured in epochs. A mere 1,000,000 years was nothing. Su Fang had only just filled the emptiness caused by his ascension. He was still far from the Daozu's normal state. No, from a heavenly Tao, Su Fang had a deep understanding and tried to create his own unique, remarkable power. Su Fang spent 1,000,000 years in the cave abode, but only 1,000 years had passed in the outside world. East Dongshuan Daozu's cultivation mystic realm was so extraordinary. No, it was not without its drawbacks. The time that passed in the chronoformation would also cause the cultivator to lose their lifespan. Moreover, they could not stay in the chronoformation for too long. After all, the heavenly Tao had been changed in the chronoformation. It had a significant impact on cultivation, especially on comprehending the heavenly Tao. For example, if nothing unexpected happened, Su Fang would probably continue to settle down until the Luai's original realm opened again 1,000,000 years later. This day, the entire internal space of Dongxian Pavilion shook. Tong then, A divine power from the chrono great Tao seeped into the internal space from the outside, instantly engulfing the entire heavenly pavilion. Wherever the divine power went, the heavenly pavilion cultivators and other life forms instantly lost 1,000,000 years of their lifespan. It was as if 1,000,000 years had passed in an instant. Tensei people, how dare you? Chapter 32:15. Who would have thought that the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion would be attacked by an expert? That attack contained the principles of the great Tao of time. It was obvious that it came from the Tensei people. Moreover, it was a top Daozu expert. A voice filled with disdain traveled from outside the pavilion into the inner space. Dongxian Daozu, your strength is not bad. You should be the strongest expert of the human race now, right? In front of the supreme Tensei people, you are still an ant. Dongxian Daozu's angry rebuke rang out. Why are the Tensei people attacking my Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion? Why? Go and ask Su Fang. He disguised himself as the heavenly blood royal vine, killed our experts, and stole our young king's treasure. How can the dignity of our race be challenged by an ant of the human race? It would not be wrong for the Tensei people to destroy the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion for such a heinous crime. I did not come here to destroy the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. I came here to give you an ultimatum. 100 years later, hand over Su Fang obediently. Otherwise, you will end up like the Northern Profound Divine region. Just as his arrogant voice fell, boom, east the doors of the Profound Heaven Pavilion collapsed. 100 years later, I want to see Su Fang kneel in front of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion and beg for forgiveness. Otherwise, the Tensei people will destroy the entire human race. The voices of the Tensei people gradually faded away. In the end, there was no more sound. The Tensei people are actually so arrogant and despotic when they come to kill us at this time. Su Fang's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Then, they became indifferent. This, Dongxian Daozu, transmitted his consciousness. Master has his own plans. Cultivate in peace. Don't worry. Tensei people, don't force me to kill. Su Fang smiled indifferently and continued to settle down in the cave abode of time. Not long after, news that shocked the human world spread. North, mystic divine realm had been conquered by the 12 races of Shixian. North Xian Daozu had fled with heavy injuries. What was even more shocking was that the 12 races, with the help of the Tensei people, had taken less than 100 years to conquer the Northern Profound Divine Realm. The situation this time was even more serious than the destruction of the South Profound and Western Profound Divine Realms. For a time, the entire human world fell into panic and despair. 50 years later, the Daozu experts of the human race had gathered at the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. Some Daozu of the human race were shocked and terrified by the strength of the Tensei people and the 12 races when they learned that the Northern Profound Divine region had been destroyed at such a shocking speed. At first, many human Daozu either vaguely rejected or directly rejected Dongxian Daozu's invitation. Obviously, they were afraid. East in a fit of anger, Daozu revealed his domineering side, announcing that anyone who did not come would be considered a traitor to the human race, and he would personally come to suppress them. During the Battle of the Western Profound Mountain, Dongxian Daozu had severely injured a peak expert of the three-eyed Black Devil race. Such strength was already at the peak of the human world. At this place when Dongxian Daozu was angry, the human Daozu who had been rejecting the invitation had no choice but to gather at the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion to discuss how to deal with the Tensei people and the 12 races. East inside the Profound Daozu's secret realm, a total of 15 Daozu experts of the human race were gathered in a space created by a star formation. Everyone, the only thing we can do now is to work together and fight the Tensei people and the 12 races to the death. Otherwise, the human race will not be able to escape destruction before the 10 directions divine masters break through the seal. Dongxian Daozu said in a low voice. Everyone, many Daozu experts were like clay statues. For a long time, they did not say a word, and the atmosphere was heavy and oppressive. Mother Dark Daozu snorted and said, "The foreign races have not arrived yet, and you are already scared out of your wits?" Hao Ian Daozu from the Hao Ian Divine Realm said helplessly, "Mother Dark Daozu, it is not that we are scared out of our wits. It is just that the foreign races are so strong that it is already difficult for us to deal with the 12 races. Now that the Tensei people have arrived, even if the human race goes all out, it will be like throwing an egg against a rock. The Tensei people are not something that the human race can fight against. Too strong. With my strength, I am like a weak chicken in front of that Tensei people expert. I cannot even withstand a single blow. If I did not self-destruct one of my avatars, I would have already died." The one who spoke was an old man with a weak aura. He was Beishian Daozu, who had just escaped from the hands of the foreign race experts not long ago. Hong Beishian Daozu smiled bitterly and sighed. "The human race will be destroyed by the 10 Directions Divine Master sooner or later. Now, it is just a few million years earlier. In order to preserve the human race, it is better for us to escape to the depths of the primal chaos. There, we'll be able to find a foothold there. It is much better than staying in the Jioshuan Divine Realm and getting killed." A Daozu expert retorted, "Even if we escape to the depths of the primal chaos, we will end up like the 5 great divine races in the central profound divine realm. We will end up as slaves of the foreign races. Without strength, we will be destroyed no matter where we go." Many Daozu experts fell into silence. "Who?" Suddenly, the Daozu expert said, "The Tensei people are a higher race in the primal chaos. They originally had nothing to do with the human race. Since they are a higher race, they will not attack the human race. Now, the Tensei people are enraged because of Su Fong. Why don't we hand Su Fong over to the Tensei people to quell their anger? The Tensei people will naturally not make things difficult for the human race. When the time comes, the 12 races will no longer be a threat to us." This Daozu expert was none other than Chutian Daozu from the Chutian Divine Realm. He wasn't targeting Su Fong. Instead, he spoke the thoughts of many Daozu experts. Many Daozu experts were moved. They were clearly moved by Daozu's words. East a layer of frost appeared on Daozu's face. "Su Fong has contributed greatly to the human race. This seat will not speak of it any further. Now that a powerful enemy has arrived, you plan to abandon him? Hee, what a cold-blooded and heartless man. Aren't you afraid that the entire human race will be bitterly disappointed? Shameless to the extreme." Mother Daozu's voice was filled with murderous intent. His cold gaze swept past the numerous Dao ancestors before finally landing on Dao ancestor Qi Tian. He said with a murderous look, "If anyone else has such thoughts, I'll kill him first and then fight the experts of the cosmic race to the death." Qi Tian said. Shu Tian Daozu snorted. "The two of you can't expect us and the entire human race to die, right?" Mother Daozu snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Daozu experts fell silent again. Dongxian Daozu suddenly spoke. "Everyone, since things have come to this point, this seat will not hide anything. Su Fong has offended the Tensei people because he obtained a supreme treasure that is related to the future of the human race." At this moment, a figure passed through the array formation. It was Su Fong. Dongxian Daozu and Mother Daozu cupped their fists. Su Fong said, "Master, there is no point in talking too much. When the Tensei people's experts arrive in 50 years, I, Su Fong, will stop them alone. Don't forget that I have a grand mist heavenly treasure. What can the Tensei people do?" Daozu sighed pessimistically. "Even if you have the ability to kill Daozu with the longevity lamp, you won't have the chance to activate it in front of the Tensei people's experts." Su Fong smiled. "Not necessarily. 100 years ago, I suppressed the Daozu of the Tensei people. It wasn't an ordinary Daozu. You, the powerful Daozu that suppressed the Tensei people?" Daozu sneered. The other Daozu also fell silent. They didn't believe Su Fong's words. Su Fong, your aura. Daozu. Daozu was stunned when she sensed Su Fong's aura. Then, her expression changed. Her Aura Daozu experts looked at Su Fong. At first, they were surprised. Then they were shocked. His speed of improvement was heaven-defying. While they were shocked, a glimmer of hope ignited in everyone's hearts. When Su Fong was still a Daozu, he could threaten the Tensei people with a longevity lamp. Now that he was a Daozu expert, he might be able to fight against the 12 races and the Tensei people with the longevity lamp. Daozu said resentfully, "It's useless. Even if we kill all the Tensei people, more Tensei people will invade the human world. Even if the human race has undying existences, it will be difficult to stop the Tensei people." Su Fong looked at Daozu and said indifferently, "Daozu, are you going to hand me over to the Tensei people in exchange for the survival of the human race? Only then will you be at ease?" Ancestor Tian Dao smiled embarrassedly. Although he did not speak, the meaning in his expression could not be more obvious. Most of the other Daozu elites had the same idea. "I've just become a Daozu. You all probably think that I, Su Fong, am a weak chicken that you can crush as you please. You want to abandon me like a chess piece, right?" Su Fong said coldly, his voice full of mockery. Chi Daozu said, "Su Fong, I know you're strong, but this time, you're not facing a Daozu of the human race or a Daozu of the 12 races. You're facing a peerless elite from the Tensei people. No matter how strong you are, can you fight against the Tensei people?" Daozu also said, "We're not thinking this out of selfishness. We're thinking this for the sake of the human race." For the sake of the human race? What a pretentious excuse. Su Fong displayed a domineering aura. He waved his hand, and the Tensei people's elite, Zhu Si, rolled out of his palm. Everyone looked at the shackled Zhu Si and felt his aura. They were all shocked. Such a powerful Daozu was comparable to the human race and the 12 races Daozu, but he was suppressed by Su Fong. It was obvious how strong Su Fong was. It was far beyond their imagination. Hong Daozu Tian, Chi Tian, and the others looked at Su Fong. Their eyes were full of fear, and their hearts were full of respect. "The Tensei people are coming for me, Su Fong. I don't need you to die. I will take care of them myself. So what if I die for the sake of the human race? However, Su Fong will say this first. If anyone still wants to use me as cannon fodder, Su Fong is not a soft-hearted person. I can kill the Daozu of the Yi and Hu people. I can kill the Tensei people and the 12 races Daozu. Do you think I can't kill you? So what if I kill a few more human Daozu?" Su Fong said. As soon as the clanging sound rang out, a powerful will that was as strong as the heavenly Dao erupted. It suppressed Dao ancestor Chi Tian, Dao ancestor Hong Tian, and the other experts to the point that their Dao hearts trembled and their bodies trembled. "Stay in Heaven Pavilion. In 50 years, come with me to face the Tensei people. Whoever dares to leave Heaven Pavilion will be killed." Fong's murderous voice attacked the Daozu's Dao hearts. They suddenly felt as if they were on the brink of death. Su Fong completely controlled their life and death. His will could suppress them,